Chapter 2148. Mo Xian sighed helplessly. I shouldn't have agreed to you that time. Are you questioning my ability? Yiqing Luo stared at him unhappily, her little fists clenched tightly and smashed towards his face. Mo Xian pretended to be in pain. Yes, my little Luo is so powerful. Very soon she will be able to keep pace with me. Yiqing Luo snorted. With a proud look of a queen, she retracted her hand. That's more like it. Mo Xian's eyes were dark, incomparably deep as he nodded with a warm smile. At this moment, all the maids and servants who were passing by saw it. Just a moment later, the overlord doted on their seventh miss to the bone, simply a henpecked husband. This news spread throughout the entire Three Springs sect. He carried her as they stepped into the courtyard. The silence between the two of them was a little strange. The courtyard door closed. His footsteps didn't stop. Entering the bedroom, Mo Xian placed Yiqing Luo on the bed, pulled the blanket over and covered her up. Immediately he straightened up. Yiqing Luo looked at the peerless face in front of her. His lips curled up into a warm smile. Between his brows was his pampering towards her. But the atmosphere between the two of them was inexplicably strange. The more Yiqing Luo thought, the more upset she felt. Just as Mo Xian was about to turn around to leave, she suddenly stretched out her hand and grabbed his wrist. Ah Xian. Mo Xian's footsteps paused, his other hand stretched over and wrapped around her little hand. What's the matter? Ah Xian. The calmer he appeared, the more Yiqing Luo was concerned. She hugged Mo Xian's arm and pulled him to the bed. Sit down. Mo Xian's gaze fell onto her face, gentle and sorrowful. Little Luo, aren't you still crying out in pain? If you continue to invite me like this, won't it hurt even more? Yiqing Luo's cheeks blushed as she pinched his hand hard. Stop fooling around, sit down. Mo Xian sat down obediently. Ah Xian, I know you're angry. Yiqing Luo's little hand was still holding his big hand tightly. Actually, what Xiao Yu said, I have considered it for a long time. She took a deep breath, raised her head and met his gaze. It's not only you who wants to get married, I also want to be open and aboveboard, to let the entire Nirvana realm, and even the upper realm know that you Mo Xian belong to me, Yiqing Luo. But the look in her eyes was complicated. You should know from Beiyuan that, not only is my father not Yi Tianquang, my mother is also not my mother. Mo Xian didn't hide it and nodded to admit it. Tang Beiyuan was the secret guard that Mo Xian had arranged to protect her in the dark on behalf of Wind. Tang Beiyuan must have seen everything that had happened to her in the dark. Moreover, Mo Xian had rushed over in such a timely manner. It was probably because of Zhu Wuxin's appearance. Mo Xian was very clear about Chu Wuxin's feelings for her. Tang Beiyuan knew that as well. Because of this, when Chu Wu Xian brought the wind chimes as a gift to Yiqing Luo, as Mo Xian's subordinate, Tang Beiyuan felt a sense of crisis for her own master. Hence, she decisively used their imperial palace's exclusive method to inform Mo Xian about this matter. Because of this, when Mo Xian rushed over, she could feel the scorching heat from Mo Xian's body and the perspiration on his forehead, as well as that unstable breathing. Because of this, Yiqing Luo was certain. Tang Beiyuan must have told Mo Xian in detail about these few days' matters in the morning when she was still sleeping. Chapter 2149. Yiqing Luo lowered her eyes and stared at the big hand that was held by her small hand. The fingers with distinct joints were extremely slender and beautiful. She couldn't bear to let go and kept holding it. I'm only 15 now. In the place where I grew up, this age is really too young. At least, you have to wait for me for another 5 or 6 years. The current her was still considered a child. According to the education from where I came from, giving birth before the age of 23 or 4 is not only harmful to your own body, it will also harm your own baby. In another 5 or 6 years, her body would be considered as fully developed, pregnant with Mo Xian's child. That was health and the safety of mother and child. All right, I'm not urging you to give birth. Mo Xian looked at the girl's serious expression and couldn't help but laugh. Yiqing Luo grabbed his hand tightly. I'm serious, you're not allowed to laugh. Alright, I won't laugh. Dmo Xian looked like he was trying to hold back his laughter. Yiqing Luo pouted and unhappily shook off his hand. Xian, do you know my background may not be that simple? Dmo Xian's expression froze. Yiqing Luo noticed the change in his mood and smiled helplessly. Right, even you have noticed it. Yes. Dmo Xian didn't deny it. Your innate talent, your profound heart jade, and the dark forces, as well as Godless Island trying every means possible to push you into the pit. I have some guesses. When Bei Ming died, he said he hid something for me. Something related to my biological father. Yiqing Luo leaned into his arms. I didn't open the box. Old Man Song said he sensed a very powerful force in the box. That powerful force will cause Nirvana realm to no longer be peaceful. Dmo Xian frowned. What is it? I don't know, I didn't open it. Yiqing Luo shook her head. Old Man Song said that the force exceeded Nirvana realm, and even surpassed his power. As she said, she pursed her thin lips and raised her chin on his chest. Old Man Song is the spirit of the Azure Dew Bracelet, an old monster who has lived for thousands of years. Even he is in awe of the power. That is absolutely not a power that I can contend against. So, you didn't open the box and didn't check for any clues regarding your father? Dmo Xian's fingers gently brushed aside the stray hair on her forehead. Yiqing Luo replied with an N in a small voice. I think, when my ability is strong enough, then I can go look for my father. Based on my current ability, even if I know who my father is, what can I do? There was something about her father, something so powerful. It was so strong that even Old Man Song had to admit defeat. This meant that his father was not someone from the Nirvana realm. The Nirvana realm was the lowest realm in the entire alternate world. That also meant that she had found clues about her father, and knew who her father was. She didn't have the ability to look for her father, and find out about her origins. And about my mother. Yiqing Luo lowered her eyelids. Old ancestor said that Yi Tianquang wanted the thing in my mother's hands. For that thing, he didn't hesitate to spend more than half of his life. That thing is very likely on me. Do you know what it is? Dmo Xian also found out about this matter from Tang Beiyuan. Chapter 2150. A clue to a powerful and unimaginable father. A person who possessed a mysterious item that made the head of the Three Springs sect, one of the four major sects, obsessed for most of his life, even marrying a woman he didn't love, to become the official wife of the Yi family. Whether it was a clue to his father, or a clue to his mother, it showed that both of them were extraordinary, not simple. Xian, if my father and mother were ordinary people, I am willing to marry you now. But I can't. Yiqing Luo's little hand stretched over, and held one of his fingers. The softness wrapped around his finger. Dmo Xian's heart suddenly softened. Yiqing Luo raised her head, her long curly eyelashes fluttering like butterfly wings. She pursed her pink lips, her cheeks slightly flushed. Xian, our relationship, our feelings actually don't need anything to prove it. Just like what I said before, marriage is just a formality. I love you, just like you love me. We are a match made in heaven and are destined to be together. Otherwise, why would I come all the way from the 21st century to this strange world? I firmly believe that it is all for me, is to meet you. The young lady's voice was extremely sweet and soft. Low and soft voice, as if she was shy. This look made Dmo Xian's heart palpitate. He stared deeply at Yiqing Luo. His eyes were deep and his gaze was lingering. Yiqing Luo was defeated. Her little hand gripped his finger tighter and continued. Xian, you are very powerful, and your identity is distinguished. Dmo Xian was stunned, his thin lips moved slightly, and was about to say something. A slender and soft finger pressed against his lips, and with the fragrance of a woman's hair. Xian, let me finish. Yiqing Luo half knelt by the bed, her finger pressed against his lips. Soft skin rubbed against his lips. Like a feather, gently stirred Yiqing Luo's heart. Her face turned redder, not daring to look at Dmo Xian's sexy and charming face. No one knows where you come from, how powerful you are. She tried hard to say what was in her heart. You are very mysterious, mysterious island. I know you are hiding a lot of secrets. I also know that you didn't tell me because I'm not strong enough. Even if I knew everything, I wouldn't be able to help you at all. Instead, I might even be a burden to you. Therefore, in order to become a woman who is worthy of you, the Overlord, who is able to help you, the Overlord, I must choose to strengthen myself, improve myself, and work hard to catch up to you. Emotion's deep inky peach blossom eyes were like a pond of spring water, completely Yiqing Luo's peerlessly beautiful face. His arms tightened, hugging her tightly. Lil Luo air, I am willing to wait. Yiqing Luo's arms hugged him tightly as she buried her head on his shoulder. Xian, I won't let you wait for too long. As long as I find my biological parents, if it's possible, we'll get married under the witness of my biological parents. Her eyes were full of smiles. This will definitely be very satisfactory. All right. Xian inhaled the fragrance from her body and understood what Yiqing Luo was thinking. He had heard Yiqing Luo mention about her modern life. He had no parents since he was a child. He followed the group of old men from the Yi clan and underwent inhumane torturous training. Then she arrived here. The Yi clan had hurt her deeply. To say that she didn't care about kinship, in actual fact, it was all fake. If Yiqing Luo could find her biological parents, it would mean that she had become extremely powerful. At that time, she would definitely have the ability to look down on the prosperous world with him. If she could add on the blessings of her biological parents. Using Yiqing Luo's words. Just 2 words. Chapter 2151. Yiqing Luo's face was buried in his chest. It also covered the faint melancholy between her brows. Her background was too complicated and strange. She appeared in the Yi family out of nowhere, and became a descendant of the Yi family. Her mother even let her sit on the position of young matriarch, until she was 15 years old. This was too abnormal. Why was it the Yi family? She still remembered that she was the young matriarch of the hidden Yi family in the 21st century. Only she could enter the Yi family's ancestral tomb. There was no doubt that she was the descendant of the Yi family. So she must have some connection with the Yi family of the Nirvana Realm's Three Springs sect. That was why she was placed in the Yi family. Behind this was her so-called biological parents' plot. Or someone else? Yiqing Luo had no way of knowing these. The only thing she knew was, her future path had to be taken step by step, steadily and slowly. Otherwise a little carelessness might. Yiqing Luo restrained the glint in her eyes as she suppressed all her thoughts. She had to figure out her own background. Figure out the truth of that year. In this way, she could be at ease and be together with Xian. This concerned the future of both of them. She could not allow any accidents to happen to the both of them. Yiqing Luo raised her head. Her eyes sparkled as she gazed at Xian's face, revealing a bright smile. Xian, I love you. The young lady's starry eyes were ravaged, but the warmth in her eyes was like the warm sun in early spring. Bit by bit, it seeped into Xian's heart. The arm around her waist was tightly wrapped around her slender waist. The man's hot body pressed down. Yiqing Luo's delicate body seemed to be ignited. The man's low and sexy voice was still beside her ear, teasing her little heart bit by bit. Her delicate body trembled slightly as her little hand grabbed Xian's collar and pushed him away. Stop, Xian. Don't be so touched that you want to express your excitement by touching me. Xian's kiss was about to fall, but was blocked by Yiqing Luo's hand. He didn't move his lips away. The warm thin lips were imprinted on her fair palm. His lips curled slightly. His thin lips rubbed against her palm, causing Yiqing Luo's hand to tremble slightly. Instinctively, he wanted to retract his hand. Xian's large palm suddenly grasped her little hand, preventing her from escaping. Xian. Yiqing Luo bit her lips shyly as she growled his name. This man, if he continued to flirt like this, something bad would really happen. She was not a woman who could be flirted with. It was getting to his head. She didn't care about anything else and directly pounced on him. Xian's lips were still attached to her palm. When he heard her voice, he looked up. Yiqing Luo was looking at him from this angle. She just met his eyes. Her body couldn't help but feel numb, and her legs couldn't help but go soft. That pair of bewitching peach blossom eyes were devilishly seductive. It was as if he was tempting her to sink into his demonic charm. Yiqing Luo's cheeks flushed red in an instant. Dmo Xian delightfully curled his thin lips as he teased. Is Lil Luo shy? Yiqing Luo stared at him resentfully. He was so seductive. It would be strange if she wasn't shy. If she didn't feel shy, he should be panicking. Hearing the teasing tone in Dmo Xian's words, Yiqing Luo expressed that she couldn't continue to flirt with Dmo Xian like this. That part was really in pain from Dmo Xian's torment last night. She couldn't withstand the seduction from his beauty. If she went into battle with an injury and saw blood, that would be terrible. Young people must control themselves. Yiqing Luo brainwashed herself in various ways in her mind. Chapter 2152. An envelope appeared in Yiqing Luo's hands. Yiqing Luo pushed Dmo Xian away as she shifted her two little legs backwards. Dmo Xian only swept a glance at that envelope as he didn't put it to heart. Looking at the distance between the young lady and himself, there was more than half a bed's distance. His rosy red thin lips curled upwards as his gaze filled with adoration fell onto Yiqing Luo. Lil Luo, you're not feeling well, so I won't touch you now. Dmo Xian bent over slightly as he tried to fish the young lady out from the bed. Yiqing Luo slapped his hand away. Don't come over, sit there and don't move. Dmo Xian helplessly retracted his hand as he coaxed warmly. All right, I won't go over and I'll listen to you. But, Lil Luo, isn't that area hurting? Let me take a look first. If it's really painful, then I'll apply medicine. He only thought that Yiqing Luo was in pain because of last night's torment. Hence she wasn't willing to be intimate with him today. You still dare to say? Yiqing Luo had just opened the envelope when her cheeks flushed red from Dmo Xian's words. Don't say any more. Don't you know what shame is? Dmo Xian's smile became even more devilish. There's only the two of us here. What's there to be shy about? Moreover, which part of your body have I not seen before? Dmo Xian. Yiqing Luo flew into a rage out of embarrassment as her wide-opened eyes started to burn with sparks. She clenched her teeth as she pounced towards Dmo Xian's direction. Her two little fists were clenched tightly. Rushing up, she punched Dmo Xian's exceptionally handsome face, which was filled with teasing smiles. Her hand had just waved and a piece of yellowish paper floated down from the envelope. That piece of paper was extremely thin. It was obviously yellowish, but it gave off a strange energy. When Dmo Xian's eyes looked towards the paper, the teasing smile on his face instantly froze on his face. This is... Dmo Xian held onto Yiqing Luo's hands, which were waving over, as he used a little strength to bring her into his embrace. Following that, the other hand picked up the thin piece of paper. This thing, where did you get it from? Lying in Dmo Xian's embrace, Yiqing Luo could obviously feel that Dmo Xian's aura had turned solemn. Obviously, he knew this kind of paper and had seen it before. Realizing this, Yiqing Luo's eyes lit up obviously. She happily climbed out of his arms. Xian, do you know this kind of paper? Do you know which realm this thing came from? Dmo Xian's fingers gently stroked the paper, and the more he touched, the more grave his expression became. This thing definitely doesn't exist in the lower realm. He didn't directly answer Yiqing Luo's question, but indirectly admitted that this piece of paper indeed came from another plane. Yiqing Luo didn't pursue further. She struggled free from Dmo Xian's embrace and knelt on the bed, slowly spreading out the paper. It looked like a thin piece of paper. When it was spread out, it occupied half the bed. This paper, wasn't it the map which Yiqing Luo had found in the secret compartment in her mother's room? I think Yi Tianquang probably wants to obtain this map from my mother. Yiqing Luo's hands were propped up by the side of the map, as she stared at the densely packed complicated routes on it. When the map was completely unfolded, Dmo Xian's body stiffened. He stared at the dazzling map in a daze. It wasn't until he heard Yiqing Luo's voice that he regained his senses. Chapter 2153. Yiqing Luo nodded. Yes, this is what my mother left for me, but the route on it is too complicated. Even after such a long time, I can only remember half of the route in my mind. Pausing her words, she raised her eyes in puzzlement and stared at Emotion. You know what this map is and where it came from, right? Emotion's gaze retracted from the map little by little. His breathing was still faintly uneven. Obviously his heart was not calm. Little Luo, or keep it first, he said with a complicated expression. Yiqing Luo frowned. Emotion's expression, why did it look so strange? Keep it first. Emotion rubbed her head. Oh. Yiqing Luo used her peripheral vision to look at the expression on Emotion's face as she refolded the map. She put the map back into the profound phoenix ring. She immediately climbed to Emotion's side and leaned her head on his shoulder. I'll keep it. Emotion lowered his eyes. His long eyelashes cast an arc under his eyelids. The expression on his face was unprecedentedly dignified. Yiqing Luo didn't rush him, quietly nestled in his arms. She knew that this map must be hiding a huge secret. And it was absolutely the thing that Yi Tianquang wanted to get from her mother. A map that didn't belong to Nirvana realm. The map that Yi Tianquang racked his brains to get. And let Emotion. Such a heavy map. Emotion needed a short period of time to sort out his feelings when he saw this map in the lower realm. The silent time passed by in a flash. After a stick of incense, Emotion's tense body finally moved. Yiqing Luo leaned in his arms and felt it most clearly. She immediately straightened her body, gently fanned her long eyelashes and looked at him quietly. Little Luo, or this map is called Profound Flame Dubhe Chart. Emotion's voice was somewhat tense and his tone was extremely flat. Profound Flame Dubhe Chart? This? What kind of name was this? But it sounded like it was very powerful. You must keep this map well. You must not expose it to anyone. Otherwise, not only will the Nirvana realm be in trouble, I'm afraid the entire alternate world will fall into an endless battle. Emotion said as he shut his eyes wearily. The profound flame Dubhe diagram was with Yiqing Luo. Should he rejoice or worry? His tall figure leaned against the headboard. His slender fingers stroked the sore spot between his eyebrows. Your mother should have told you about the importance of the arcane flame Dubhe diagram. He sighed lightly. Emotion's look made Yiqing Luo's heart feel perturbed and uneasy. She leaned towards Emotion's side and her charming eyes looked at his face without blinking. When I got this map, my mother had already passed away. Emotion's eyelids twitched. Old Man Song has never seen this map before, so he doesn't know where the route is drawn on the map. Yiqing Luo continued. Emotion abruptly opened his eyes. Yes. That old man, call him out. Xian, what's the secret of this map? Tell me first, this map is likely to be related to my life experience. Yiqing Luo held Emotion's arm. She always felt that Emotion didn't want to talk to her about the profound flame Dubhe chart. Chapter 2154. Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips and finally nodded in compromise. She placed her palm on the azure dew bracelet and activated her divine sense. Last Luo, you and Emotion are like glue. Why did you call this old man out to join in the fun? Old Man Song's spiritual body floated out of the azure dew bracelet. You two youngsters are so sticky. Do you want this old man to see you two lovey-dovey? Are you sure you can continue to be so intimate with this old man? Old Man Song had obviously just woken up as he lazily yawned. When his entire spiritual body floated out of the azure dew bracelet. Only then did he realize. The atmosphere between the two of them, who were originally stuck together, was a little strange. Old Man Song looked at Emotion who was sitting on the bed with a grave expression. Then he looked at Yiqing Luo who was sitting on the other side, staring at Emotion without blinking. He looked left and right. He suddenly clapped his hands. You two, don't tell me you two are quarreling and looking for this old man to mediate? After he finished, he floated one round around the two. These two people were so sticky when they met. They couldn't wait to become conjoined twins. Since yesterday, when Emotion appeared, Old Man Song decisively blocked the azure dew bracelet from the outside world. He didn't expect that in just one day, something happened. He shook his head and lectured. You two don't The map in little Luo's hand is the profound flame Dubhe diagram. Dmo Xian opened his mouth lightly, interrupting Old Man Song's lecture. A young couple fighting in bed. Old Man Song's floating spiritual body suddenly rushed in front of Dmo Xian. What did you say? Profound flame Dubhe diagram? Dmo Xian calmly nodded. Old Man Song's mouth opened wide, his face full of disbelief. After a long while, he recovered from the shock and turned to look at Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo blinked and nodded uncertainly. That map. Xian said it is the profound flame Dubhe diagram, but this Dubhe diagram, what is it? Old Man Song's pale lips trembled. His white beard fluttered along with his breathing. Then his eyes met with Dmo Xian's. The room fell into silence again. Yiqing Luo looked at the man and the spiritual body as her pretty face instantly turned stiff. What kind of riddle are the two of you playing? Is there anything that you can't tell me? Arousing my curiosity, but not telling me. That's the same as arousing my curiosity, but not. Luo. Dmo Xian stretched out his long arm and pulled Yiqing Luo into his embrace. A broad and thick palm covered Yiqing Luo's lips, preventing her from saying those shocking words in front of Old Man Song. In any case, Old Man Song was also an elder. Dmo Xian held her in his arms. He lowered his eyes. Against the light, his eyes were as deep as the sea, making it difficult to see through him. Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips and pouted unhappily. Both of you know what the Tianshu map is except for me. Lil Luo. It's not that we don't want to tell you, but it's the safest for you if you don't know. Do you understand? Dmo Xian's palm slightly exerted force as he hugged her head into his embrace. His lower jaw was pressed against her head, his voice was low and hoarse. That thing could easily bring about a fatal disaster. I don't want anything to happen to you. Fatal disaster. These 4 words struck Yiqing Luo's heart. She remembered that when she saw her mother's letter, her mother had reminded her, never ever let others know about this map, otherwise it would bring about a fatal disaster. Looking at Yiqing Luo's dazed and silent look. Chapter 2155. Lil Luo, let me put it this way. Dmo Xian looked at her sternly. With this map, compared to you with the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade, you are more tempting. Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed as she squinted. She naturally understood that the arousal in Dmo Xian's words was not referring to the arousal between a man and a woman. Instead, he was tempted by his prey. Yes, prey. Previously, when he found out that the profound heart jade in her body was the only one in the world, the heaven-defying Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade. She knew it. If the news that the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade was in her body were to spread, she was everyone's prey. It wasn't just the Nirvana realm that would come to hunt her down. Even the people from other realms, even the people from the upper realm would hunt her. Now she heard what Dmo Xian said. This map, known as the Mystic Flames Dubhe diagram, was even more important than the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade. From this, it could be seen how great the secret hidden on the map was. Just like what Dmo Xian had said. She did not know the details of this map. Only then would it be safer. Lil Luor. Dmo Xian lowered his head to look at the dazed young lady. The shock and astonishment on her face clearly showed that she really didn't know what the Arcane Flames Dubhe diagram was. Yiqing Luo looked at him blankly when she heard his voice. Dmo Xian glanced at Old Man Song who was floating at the side. He had not completely recovered from the news of the Dubhe diagram. His eyes were empty and lifeless as he stared ahead in a daze. Dmo Xian retracted his gaze. His peach blossom eyes were deep and reserved. His gaze locked onto Yiqing Luo. The 2 large palms that were holding onto her arms slowly tightened their grip. Xian. Yiqing Luo's arm was hurting from the pinching as she called out to him softly. Ever since she took out the Dubhe diagram, Dmo Xian became very strange. He didn't just know what the Dubhe diagram was. Furthermore, it was highly possible that there was some unspeakable secret between it and the Dubhe diagram. Little Luo, listen to me. Dmo Xian suddenly pulled her into his embrace. His long body enveloped Yiqing Luo tightly. Yiqing Luo's face crashed into his solid chest. She was in so much pain that she wanted to raise her hand to rub her face. Before he could voice out his complaints, her waist was immediately held by the man's large palm. She buried herself even deeper into his embrace. The rich scent of sandalwood and the scent of male hormones filled the air. Ugh! Yiqing Luo found it hard to breathe. He wanted to struggle, but the man seemed to be able to predict her next move. He could always trap her hands before she wanted to struggle. Yiqing Luo simply gave up on struggling and turned her little face to another direction in his arms. What was wrong with this man? She was about to be suffocated by him. Yiqing Luo was still adjusting her breathing position. Suddenly, her body was abruptly pulled a distance away from the man. Dmo Xian lowered his head and stared into her dazed eyes. As though he had mustered up a huge amount of courage, he said word by word, "Haven't you always wanted to know why I am in Nirvana realm?" His voice was very low, and his breathing was a little heavy. Yiqing Luo's heart was lifted. In that instant, the confusion he had felt just now was answered. "You're here for the Dubhe diagram?" Yiqing Luo looked at Dmo Xian in a daze as she voiced out her guess. The arms around her waist tightened even more, as though she was afraid that he would escape because of this. His arms were like an iron wall, trapping her in his embrace. Chapter 2156. F***K. It was really any melodramatic. Yiqing Luo's heart was racing with 10,000 curses. She didn't speak. Dmo Xian panicked. The overlord, who had always been noble and elegant, towering above thousands of people, was revered by everyone. Right now his face was flustered. His eyes revealed a trace of cautiousness and fawning. He seemed to be in a very low mood. He lowered his head and pillowed on her neck, not daring to look at her eyes. "After knowing my motive, you don't want to talk to me anymore? Hate me?" His voice was very soft. She could tell that he was extremely upset. Yiqing Luo's pupils gradually focused. Just as she was about to speak, the man helplessly opened his mouth again. His voice lowered a little, adding a trace of disappointment. "Lil Luo. Or don't keep quiet, I know to you, this may indicate betrayal, but..." Wait. Yiqing Luo raised her hand, interrupting his words. Two little hands propped on Dmo Xian's chest, pushing him. "Dmo Xian, what are you talking about?" Hearing the young lady's response, Dmo Xian instinctively let go of her. Yiqing Luo got off the bed and took a few steps back. Then she raised her head to look at him. She discovered that the man's usual high-spirited, confident eyes, as though everything was in the palm of his hand, was exceptionally clear. He only looked at her attentively. His eyes revealed pain. Yiqing Luo's heart couldn't help but soften. Since when did her man lose so much confidence in her? To prevent the man's imagination from running wild again, Yiqing Luo could only walk to the bedside. Both her hands cupped Dmo Xian's face, met his gaze and asked seriously, "Dmo Xian, I only have one question for you." Dmo Xian looked straight at her determined eyes. "Before this, did you know that the Tianshu map was on me?" Yiqing Luo spoke slowly, extremely clearly. That frustrated man, whose face was filled with nervousness and disappointment, shook his head blankly. "No." "Then that's it." Yiqing Luo pinched his cheek. "Your motive in Nirvana realm is to search for the Tianshu map, but before I took it out, you didn't know that the Tianshu map was on me. Then you wanting the Tianshu map, liking me and being together with me, has nothing to do with it. How could this possibly indicate betrayal?" The young girl's sweet voice was soft and gentle. The young girl's soft and tender fingers touched his cheek. Just a light touch was enough to move his heart. "Moreover, the person who wants the heavenly pivot map, if it's you, I can give it to you." Yiqing Luo's arms hugged his neck as she pressed her petite body onto his. Dmo Xian's heart soared. The young girl's words made his heart so happy that he was about to ascend to the heavens. His little Luo heir was indeed different from ordinary girls. She knew that his goal was the Dubhe map, but she still chose to trust him. She clearly knew the importance of the Dubhe map. Furthermore, the Dubhe map was related to her mother, yet she was willing to give it to him. He was already secretly rejoicing. Fortunately, he came to the Nirvana realm to find the Dubhe diagram. He was looking for the Dubhe diagram. Only then did he have the chance to meet his Lil Luoer. In this life, to have Lil Luoer. He was so lucky. Did you forget what I just said? Dmo Xian pinched her delicate nose. The Dubhe diagram is more important than the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade. Yet you still gave it away so easily. You personally came to the Nirvana realm to find the Dubhe diagram, which is enough to prove the importance of the Dubhe diagram to you. Yiqing Luo looked at him seriously. To me, nothing is more important than you. The Dubhe diagram was indeed important. It was something that her mother had left for her. Perhaps it was related to the clues of her mother. But if Dmo Xian needed the Dubhe diagram. Chapter 2157. The young lady's serious words were filled with affection. That sweet and soft voice entered Dmo Xian's ears one by one. It almost filled his heart with honey. You silly girl. Dmo Xian tightened his arms and pulled her into his embrace. Keep the Dubhe map well, don't take it out easily, understand? Yiqing Luo raised her head and placed her chin on his chest. I'm serious, and the Dubhe map is safer with you than with me. My previous goal was indeed to find the Dubhe map. Dmo Xian smiled, his slender fingers touched her pink lips. But now, my goal is to protect you who owns the Dubhe map. Yiqing Luo was puzzled. Knowing that the Dubhe map is with you, I don't need to specially look for it. Dmo Xian bent down and kissed her lips. Since your mother left the Dubhe map to you, it means that this Dubhe map belongs to you, and only you can use it properly. Yiqing Luo pushed him. Old Man Song was still watching by the side. Dmo Xian suddenly turned serious. Lil Luo, it's not that I don't want to tell you about the Dubhe map. If the time is right, I will tell you the secret of the Dubhe map and the reason why I need it. Yiqing Luo tilted her head, with a smile on her face. It was a devastatingly beautiful sight. Her hands pinched his face again. I know, I will work hard to cultivate and grow. Alright, stop being so lovey-dovey, you two. Old Man Song, who was in the background, couldn't bear it anymore. I'm still watching. You two are kissing and hugging. Do you still treat me as an elder? Yiqing Luo hooked Dmo Xian's neck, and turned to look at Old Man Song, who was floating above the gauze curtain. Dang. I'm expressing to Old Man Song that we are very loving, don't worry. Old Man Song's white ball and the gauze curtain had almost blended together. He rolled his eyes at Yiqing Luo. His spiritual body floated down and pushed Yiqing Luo out of Dmo Xian's embrace. Look at your red face. Go stand at the door and enjoy the wind. You're a lady. Be more reserved. Yiqing Luo. Why was her face so red that she didn't look reserved anymore? But she did not refute. She took a deep breath and accepted the excuse Old Man Song gave her. She patted her clothes, held her sore waist, and waved her hand. Fine. I'll stand at the door to enjoy the breeze and suppress the fire in my heart. She blew a kiss at Dmo Xian and walked out of the bedroom, closing the door behind her. She left decisively. Naturally, she understood. Old Man Song and Dmo Xian had something to say. Moreover, it was about the Dubhe diagram. Old Man Song was her artifact spirit. Although he could appear in his spiritual form, he couldn't be too far away from her. All she could do was stand at the door and let the old man and the young man chat slowly. Yiqing Luo didn't eavesdrop. She really wanted to know the secret of the Dubhe diagram. But Dmo Xian's words made a lot of sense. Knowing now would do her no good. From Dmo Xian's and Old Man Song's expressions, she could tell the importance of the Tianshu map. For this thing, Yi Tianquang had sacrificed his position as the first wife, and spent most of his life grinding, enduring and begging. For this thing, the noble and elegant overlord stayed in the Nirvana realm for so many years, and even built the imperial palace. Indeed, it was more important than the divine phoenix Profound Heart Jade. This kind of thing was beyond her ability to bear. Chapter 2158. Their conversation didn't take too long. Before the time it took to burn a stick of incense, the room's door opened with a squeak. Yiqing Luo heard that, and looked behind her. What she saw was a purple flowing light flashing past her eyes. The next moment, her waist was tightened. The man's wide and thick palms held her slender waist in his palms. Xian done talking? Yiqing Luo's pink lips rose as she leaned into his arms. Xian held her into the room and closed the door. And remember to keep the Tianshu map well. Old Man Song will remind you. I know. The two entered the room and Old Man Song had already sneaked into the Azure Dew bracelet, leaving the two of them alone. Oh yes, there's also this calming pearl. Yiqing Luo took out the calming pearl. I let Old Man Song take a look. There's no other presents left on the calming pearl. Take another look. Yiqing Luo placed the calming pearl in Xian's hand. There was once when the dark forces made use of her profound jade heart. Yiqing Luo indicated that she had to be careful at all times. After all, the calming pearl was something that suppressed her profound jade heart. She absolutely couldn't let any external factors cause her to be controlled by the dark forces to happen again. Xian held Yiqing Luo's little hand as his palm covered her palm. Her palm felt scorching hot. Yiqing Luo's cheeks blushed slightly as she wanted to withdraw her hand. A man's low voice came into her ear. Don't move. She didn't move again. A warm current came from the place where their palms were touching. It was Xian who released his profound qi. Yiqing Luo quietly held her breath. The distance between the two was very close. The feeling of his breath on her body was extremely clear. She blinked her eyes as her gaze moved up and down Xian's body. She could see Xian's dense and long eyelashes that were even more attractive than her own. That peerless face indeed had the capital to make people go crazy for it. Yiqing Luo's eyes stared at his face without blinking. How could Xian, with his strong perception, not feel it? Moreover, that gaze really made him have an uncontrollable impulse. Xian glanced sideways, and just happened to meet with Yiqing Luo's pair of infatuated eyes. Their eyes met. Her eyes were bright and her gaze was scorching. Just by looking into each other's eyes, Zhang Xian felt as though he had been electrocuted, and the sensation coursed through his entire body. This man was truly a monster. Yiqing Luo bit her lower lip as she avoided his line of sight. There's no problem with this tranquility pearl. Xian's tone was filled with a pampering smile. Yiqing Luo's face turned even redder. She struggled her hand out from Xian's palm. The little body fell onto the bed. Lifting up her two little feet, she stepped on Xian's chest. No problem, then I have no problem. Now this empress wants to rest, little Xuanzi can rest. Xian just stood up. He was kicked by Yiqing Luo's two little feet. He reached out with his large palm and grabbed her foot. Yiqing Luo exerted a little strength and kicked him twice. Little Xuanzi, you dare to grab my leg. The moment she kicked him, her body froze and her little face turned slightly pale. She gave a hiss as she sucked in a breath of cold air, wanting to cry but no tears came out as she held on to her waist. Ioyo, my waist is so sore. Just moving her forelimbs slightly, her entire body felt a kind of sore and numb feeling, especially the two sides of her legs, as though they were chopped off and then sewn back together. Soft, painful and sore. Chapter 2159. Alright, lie down and have a good rest. Xian held her little feet in his palm when he saw her crying out in pain. Squeezing her feet, Xian was about to let go and cover Yiqing Luo with the blanket. His body had just bent down. His chest was hammered again. Xian didn't manage to react in time as his chest felt stuffy and he coughed violently. Little Xian, who asked you to bully me? I'll kick you to death. Accompanying Xian's coughing sound, Yiqing Luo's joyful laughter was heard. Yiqing Luo's little feet kicked Xian's chest harshly. After that, she quickly wanted to retract her feet. But the man's reaction was faster. Before he could retract his foot, Yizichen's eyes widened. Her feet were locked tightly by Xian's hand. There was a strange atmosphere in the air. Yiqing Luo's body stiffened as her laughter stopped. She bent down and took a careful look at Xian. Her little feet moved and her voice became softer. Xian, you. Let go of me. Xian's thin lips curled upwards as his narrow peach blossom eyes shone with an extremely bright and scorching light. That light was enough to ignite everything. He bent down slightly as his large palm was still wrapped around her 2 little feet. Yiqing Luo bit her lower lip as her heart pounded. The temperature on her body started to rise under his gaze. Little Luo, if you continue to tempt me, I can't guarantee that I can still control myself. Dmo Xian's peach blossom eyes were half squinted as his deep voice was hoarse, revealing an obvious emotion. That voice was like a soft feather, tickling her heart bit by bit. Tickling her heart. Dmo Xian gazed deeply at the young lady on the bed whose face was flushed red. That creamy complexion was flushed with a bashful crimson red. That pair of clear and charming eyes were like silk, emitting a charming glow. The more he looked, the more his heart contracted. His long body couldn't help but tensed up. He suppressed his impulse and restrained his desire as he grabbed her feet and placed it at the side of his lips as he planted a fierce kiss. Yiqing Luo's petite body shook as though she was electrocuted. Her face was burning hot, so hot that it could almost cook an egg. He the overlord, actually kissed her feet. Aren't you afraid of losing face if this spreads out? Yiqing Luo was embarrassed and annoyed, but she also knew that she and Dmo Xian were not on the same level, and totally not his opponent. She buried her face in the bed. Go and do your work. I'm going to sleep. Dmo Xian tightened his grip on her leg and a low, husky laugh came from the depths of his throat. This smile simply made Yiqing Luo's amorous heart flutter. She blushed and kicked him. Dmo Xian touched the sole of her foot. Have a good rest. If you're still not feeling well tomorrow, then postpone reporting to the academy for a few days. Yiqing Luo ignored him. I'll be back soon. Miss me? Dmo Xian said again. Yiqing Luo twisted her little body, still ignoring him. His foot, which was being grabbed, gradually loosened. The atmosphere in the room was calm and quiet. Yiqing Luo laid on the ground for a long while and really didn't hear the man's voice. Biting her lip, she got up unhappily and looked behind her. His heart was filled with a sense of loss. Her petite body was suddenly hugged tightly. A gentle yet domineering kiss landed on her lips. The thick scent of a man's sandalwood filled her nostrils. Yiqing Luo's eyes widened, filled with astonishment. Chapter 2160. He didn't leave. Yiqing Luo's heart was instantly covered with sweetness. This man's skill in picking up girls was really full points. Different tricks could bring her different surprises and sweetness. This kiss lasted until both of them were out of breath. Only then did they let go. Yiqing Luo's face was flushed red as she fell into Dmo Xian's arms. Dmo Xian gently stroked her hair. His slender fingers were extremely gentle, revealing a strong sense of love. Little Luo, protect yourself, don't force yourself. Dmo Xian whispered in her ear. In a few days I will send Xian over. Let him and Bei Yuan be your secret guards. Yiqing Luo closed her eyes and panted slightly. Xian? Is he Bei Yuan's fiancé? Yes. Dmo Xian kissed her forehead. Remember my words. No matter if it's the profound heart jade or the Tianshu map. It can only be a secret. If there's anything you can't solve, tell me through the profound phoenix ring. Yiqing Luo nodded obediently. Her little head rubbed against his arms. You have to be careful too. After the matter is settled, let's go to the upper realm together. The hands around her waist suddenly tightened. Yiqing Luo clearly felt that the man's chest had hardened a little. She raised her head and wrapped her arms around his neck. Just now outside the door, I also thought that Nirvana realm can no longer satisfy my growth, I think. I should go to the upper realm, grow along the way, and at the same time, search for clues about my parents. Although Yiqing Luo wasn't clear about the clues about her father and the Tianshu map, but she knew these two things must have come from the upper realm. Her background could only be revealed when she went to the upper realm. More importantly, her aim was to grow, to go to a more powerful place, to recultivate, to learn and grow. There was no longer any existence in Nirvana realm that could trigger her advancement. Dmo Xian released her waist and slightly opened up the distance between them, lowered his head and touched her forehead. Okay, I'll accompany you. Yiqing Luo smiled. Something warm and soft brushed past her forehead. Her eyelashes trembled slightly. In that instant, The warmth that had surrounded her dissipated. Her fingers scratched unconsciously. She could only grab onto one hand, the air that was still lingering with the man's sandalwood scent. He left. He only stayed for a day before leaving. Although he knew very well in his heart, Xian had actually found out about Zhu Xian's appearance, and specially rushed over to eliminate his love rival. It wasn't that the matter of the imperial palace had been resolved, but seeing him leave in such a hurry, she couldn't help but sigh. In her heart, she was still very reluctant. Yiqing Luo raised her hand and pressed on her own heart. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes and fell onto the bed. She actually knew that the reason why Xian was in a hurry to leave was not just because of the imperial palace, but because Dubhe diagram. The reason why Xian was in the Nirvana realm was to search for the heavens pivot map. Now the Dubhe diagram was with her. Regarding the Dubhe map, it was time to give Xian some time to sort it out. This Dubhe diagram, no matter if it was for her mother, or for her to be able to prove her true identity in the future, or for Xian, she had to keep it well. The Dubhe diagram descended. The world would definitely be in chaos. It seemed like it was for the secret she had. She had to grow up as soon as possible. Chapter 2161. In the dense forest of the high mountains, the trees were shaking and the leaves were rustling. Occasionally there were birds and beasts, cutting through the dense forest, sprinkling a strange light. At the top of the mountain, a tall figure stood on the edge of the peak, facing the wind with his hands behind his back. The luxurious purple robe, like rolling purple flowing light, was fluttering with the biting cold wind. But no matter how strong the wind around, that figure was already standing there majestically. After a long while, a calm, weather-beaten voice, as if it had experienced the vicissitudes of life, leisurely rippled on the mountain. "Boy of the D family, what wind actually blew you here?" That tall figure still stood against the wind, as if he did not hear this sentence. Then on the mountain a hurricane suddenly rose. Ring after ring of Xian waves, like ripples, spread out in the air one after another. The sand and stones on the ground, under this hurricane, rolled into a tornado. Even the huge stones on the side were blown away. Then, that tall figure stood steadily on the edge of the mountain. If there were others at this time, they would definitely have a heart attack by this thrilling scene in front of them. "Oh, haven't seen for many years, the profound grade has improved again." That voice sounded again. Along with the sound, that rolling tornado, like a huge spider web, rushed to the edge of the mountain, turned into a raging wind. That figure had no time to react. He was completely swallowed by the tornado. Above the mountain, laughter resounded. But the laughter had not been vented to the fullest. Suddenly the mountain shook violently, only to see the place where the tornado hit was broken by a powerful momentum. A purple figure flew out from the hurricane. With a wave of his sleeve, a ray of purple light flew out and turned into a sharp blade. In an instant, the entire mountain was flattened. Not far away, a small thatched house was instantly pierced by the sharp blade. But in a flash, the thatched house became thatch, and it was broken into pieces of thatch. "Boy of the D family, you've gone too far." Looking at his thatched house become like this, that voice was exasperated. Then, not knowing from which direction, a figure sprang out. That voice scurried out and struck a palm towards Xian. "If you waste any more time, this lord will raise this mountain of yours to the ground." Xian turned around and placed his hands behind his back, looking at the incoming palm strike with a calm expression. Just as the palm wind was about to hit Xian, the momentum of the palm suddenly stopped. Xian looked at the person in front of him indifferently. The person in front of him was dressed in an elegant moon-white robe, which made her delicate and soft body look exquisite and curvaceous. He was right. It was a woman. Furthermore, it was an extremely stunning woman. That kind of beauty was extremely flamboyant. Coupled with her temperament, there was no sense of disharmony in her beauty. He was aggressive and domineering. Xian's gaze was fixed on the woman's face for several breaths. "This lord is here because I have something to ask you." You destroyed my house the moment you arrived, and you even wanted to raze my territory to the ground. Now you want to ask me a question? How shameless. The woman rolled her eyes at him without any hesitation. Emotien's eyes were gloomy as he stared at the woman and said word by word, "This lord has found the Dubhe map." Oh. The expression on the woman's face gradually stiffened. After a long while she asked, "Where is it?" Chapter 2162. Who is it? The woman's expression sank as a trace of ruthlessness flashed past her eyes. Emotion took a step forward and strolled to the woman's side. His thin lips moved slightly as he lightly spat out a few words. Nirvana realm is not peaceful, if you don't want the other world to be in chaos. I advise you to strengthen the security. Nirvana realm? The woman narrowed her beautiful eyes as a piercingly cold and domineering aura gradually dispersed. Is the Dubhe map really in Nirvana realm? That time, Emotion went to Nirvana realm to look for the Dubhe map. She only treated it as a joke. Unexpectedly, Emotion really found the whereabouts of the Dubhe map in Nirvana realm, that inferior realm. Emotion glanced sideways as he looked at the woman from a high position. His voice was cold. Nirvana realm is the territory that I chose. The woman's heart trembled. She didn't expect Emotion to treat her with such an attitude. It could be seen that Nirvana realm had a very deep obsession with Emotion. She rolled her eyes as an indifferent expression appeared on her gorgeous face. I'm not interested in the inferior realm, but since the Dubhe map is there, I will strengthen the security of Nirvana realm. The woman seemed to have thought of something as her beautiful eyes flashed a trace of demonic light. Speaking of which, since you already know the whereabouts of the Dubhe map, why didn't you bring it back? Emotion narrowed his eyes. What does it have to do with you? I'm just reminding you not to let unnecessary feelings affect your future. The woman chuckled. After all, if you succeed, then I can follow you. To ascend, isn't it? Emotion's half-narrowed peach blossom eyes were piercingly cold. Facing Emotion's deep and cold gaze, the woman's lips curled into a teasing arc. Why? Did I poke into your thoughts again? Her words paused as her curved willow leaf brows raised frivolously. No choice, who asked me? To be the person who understands you the most. Emotion frowned as his peach blossom eyes were as black as ink with a cold glint. Baisu, don't think too highly of yourself. The woman covered her mouth as she laughed out. Kid from the Imperial Palace, I haven't heard you call me by my full name for a long time. The woman stepped forward, her face filled with curiosity. I'm suddenly interested in the Nirvana realm. Since I have to increase the security around the Nirvana realm, why don't I go personally this time? Baisu. Emotion stared coldly at the woman. The strong wind around him stirred up his emotions, blowing his black hair that fell over his shoulders. Her complexion was slightly pale, giving off a cold feeling. His appearance was extremely mature and profound. Fine, I won't tease you anymore. The woman raised her hands in surrender. Her beautiful face was like a blooming rose, extremely beautiful. Emotion turned and left. Hey, kid from the Imperial Palace, the Dubhe diagram is no small matter. As for you, you wanted to hide the whereabouts of the Dubhe map, but you also said that there were others who also sensed the existence of the Dubhe map. If you can't protect the Dubhe diagram well, don't blame us for interfering. The woman called out to him with a serious expression as she looked at Emotion's back. The man stopped in his tracks, his eyes sharp. You're meddling too much, old lady Baisu. The woman's expression stiffened. Immediately, she suddenly went berserk. A slap, carrying thousands of wind waves, rushed towards Emotion like a surging tide. I'll kill you, you ungrateful brat. Emotion's figure moved. He had long disappeared in the high mountains. Chapter 2163. Leaving the towering mountain range. The expression on Emotion's face turned extremely indifferent. Between his brows, there were emotions of contemplation. Dark forces. Godless island. These two forces would mysteriously entangle Yiqing Luo. It was probably because of the Dubhe diagram. This map had always been in the care of Yi Fengyu's mother, the madam of the Yi clan. Yi Tianquang should have married Yi Fengyu's mother for the Dubhe diagram. But, if the clue was on Yi Fengyu's mother, Yi Qingluo wasn't a descendant of the Yi family. Not only did she have no blood relations with the Yi family, she also didn't have any blood relations with Madame Yi. If the Dubhe diagram was to be handed over, it should be handed over to Yi Fengyu. He remembered that Godless Island's three evils had once tried to snatch Yi Qingluo's profound phoenix ring. Perhaps it was to search for the Tianshu map on Yi Qingluo's body, whereas the dark forces kept on using profound Yin-Qi to get close to Yi Qingluo. The dark forces wanted to obtain Yi Qingluo's profound heart jade, and they wanted Yi Qingluo's body, which could nurture the divine phoenix profound heart jade, to be the vessel for the profound heart jade, and to control it in their own hands. Furthermore, he would make use of Yi Qingluo's profound heart jade to search for the whereabouts of the vast water god relic. Yi Qingluo didn't know, but he was very clear. The collective vast water divine artifact would become a key. As for what kind of key it was, no one knew at the moment. However, the only thing that could be confirmed was the vast water divine artifact and the Dubhe diagram were inextricably linked. Looking at Godless Island, making use of Dao Yigan to disguise as Shi Shanglan to get close to Yi Qingluo, brainwashing the devil classes students in an attempt to gain Yi Qingluo's trust. Then, after being exposed, directly making use of the treasure house auction house, he set up a god array to send Yi Qingluo to the 21st century. Then, he thought of the netherworld he had encountered in the 21st century. Yu Ming took out that crystal ball named Tracking Search Bomb, and followed Yi Qingluo into the Yi family's ancestors' tomb. What it was tracking and searching for was probably the Tianshu map. He could not find it in the Nirvana realm. Godless Island set its sights on their ancestors' tomb in the 21st century. Bit by bit, the clues gradually became clear in his mind. Dmo Xian's eyes were cold and indifferent, turning even more icy cold and incisive. Although Lil Luo didn't like him interfering in her matters. But he had to make a trip to Godless Island. His little Luo heir. No one could be bullied. West Continent, Three Springs Sect Mansion. Yi Qingluo rested in Three Springs Sect for a full 5 days. Until the Heavenly Academy sent someone over to urge her. Yi Qingluo still had no intention to go to the Heavenly Academy. These few days, Yi Qingluo shut herself in the Azure Dew bracelet, cultivating nonstop. First, she used the Dragon God's furnace to refine pills for her 2 holy beasts that were still in deep sleep. That stock of returning heaven primordial serene grass, which was worth 70 million gold coins, along with a bunch of precious herbs that could help to raise profound strength, were thrown into the furnace as if they were free. If there were any knowledgeable bystanders present at this time, they would probably be so shocked that their hearts would not be able to take it. Not to mention the returning heaven essence serene grass that was worth 70 million. As for the other precious medicinal herbs, if it was placed in an auction house, it would definitely be a medicinal herb that everyone would go crazy over. Yi Qingluo totally didn't care about it. After the refining was successful, Yi Qingluo directly fed these pills, which used up a large amount of precious medicinal herbs, to the 2 holy beasts. This made those Qiao Jin and the rest who followed Elder Yunyan to urge Yi Qingluo to go to school after Yi Qingluo came out of her closed-door cultivation. Chapter 2164. Was there a need to waste God's gift like this? Qiao Jin and the others expressed how they wished they could be Yi Qingluo's war pet. Yi Qingluo looked at those pairs of eyes which were flickering with a wolf's glint as she rolled her eyes. Forget it, there's a share for my 2 little treasures, so naturally there's a share for all of you too. Qiao Jin's wolf's glint grew as he pounced over directly. Madam Qingluo, Goddess Qingluo, you're our faith. Yan Xiaoyi, who was standing by the side, grabbed onto Qiao Jin as her face was filled with black lines as she face-bombed. Slut Jin, stop embarrassing yourself, come back here. Qiao Jin flailed his arms, with a look as though he wouldn't give up until he got the pill. This pair of clowns made the atmosphere in the room ease up by quite a bit. Yin Duan was all smiles as he stroked his white beard as he looked at Yi Qingluo. Student Yiqing Luo is indeed Ghost Doctor's only disciple. I'd not expected to be able to refine this kind of high-grade pill successfully. Furthermore, from the sounds of it, the quantity wasn't little. Generally speaking, the higher the grade of the pill, the lower the success rate and the lesser the number of pills refined. Like the heaven-returning primordial serene grass, which was a 1 in 1,000 years precious herb, coupled with so many rare medicinal herbs. Even if one's luck was off the charts, to be able to refine one pill was already a joyous occasion. Not only did Yiqing Luo succeed, moreover, not just one pill. That was a pill refined from the heaven-returning primordial serene grass. Based on Yiqing Luo's pill refining ability, she would absolutely be able to advance to the next grade or even breakthrough. Yin Xiang, who was following behind Yin Duan, a glint flashed past his eyes. When Yiqing Luo heard Yin Duan's praise, she humbly raised her pink lips. You can only get what you're willing to give up. These are all extremely precious medicinal herbs, so the success rate is naturally higher. Our student Yiqing Luo has the Overlord's full support, Mu family and the entire Alchemist Guild's full support, and also treasure-gathering pavilion's Shi siblings. Yin Xiang walked out from behind Yin Duan as he smiled. Of course student Yiqing Luo is willing. Indeed, you can only get what you're willing to give up. Yin Duan's expression congealed as he suppressed his voice and berated. Yin Xiang. Yin Xiang seemed as though he didn't hear anything as he continued asking with a smile. Student Yiqing Luo, how many heaven-returning serene pills have you refined this time? Just as Yin Xiang finished his words, the faces of Qiao Jin, Yin Xiaoyi and the rest instantly turned ashen. What did he mean by the Dizun before him, and the Mu family after him? Even the Shi siblings were dragged into this? Wasn't this obviously ridiculing their Qing Luo for only knowing how to rely on others? Yin Xiaoyi sneered. She couldn't hold back her temper. Elder Yin Xiang, why do I hear that your words sound so sour? Why, my Qing Luo has refined a high top-grade pill, and you're envious and jealous. You. Yin Xiang's smile froze as he glared at Yin Xiaoyi. She was just about to open her mouth to refute when Tong Ziqing, who had a cold expression on her face, slowly walked forward and stood in front of Yin Xiaoyi. Her cold and beautiful aura was completely released. Elder Yin Xiang, you're an elder of the Heavenly Academy and represent the Heavenly Academy. Such baseless words coming out from your mouth. It represents the Heavenly Academy to be doubting our Qing Luo. That we have relied on this and that, to get to where we are today, today's status. Tong Ziqing's voice was cold and indifferent as her lips curled into a sneer which didn't reach her eyes. Chapter 2165. Yin Xiang couldn't refute at all. Yin Duan pulled Yin Xiang behind him and revealed a kind smile. Student Yiqing Luo, this old man is here to invite you back to the academy. As for alchemy, that's your private matter, we shouldn't ask too much. Elder Yin Yun is still the most sensible. Yin Xiaoyi scoffed and glared at Yin Xiang. Yin Xiang's face alternated between green and white. To allow a student to be so impudent. How could he, as an elder, maintain his dignity in the academy in the future? However, without waiting for Yin Xiang to attack, a clear and melodious voice interrupted him. I've left the academy for so long and I miss the academy life. Today let's go back to the Heavenly Academy. Yin Duan heard this and laughed. Actually, with Yiqing Luo's current strength, she doesn't need any guidance from the academy. Student Yiqing Luo is the most talented student I have ever seen. His words weren't to flatter Yiqing Luo. That was the truth. A supreme expert of the sky profound realm. In the Heavenly Academy, most of the masters were not Yiqing Luo's match. Yiqing Luo had completely achieved the ability to graduate. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly. Elder Yin Duan, what are you talking about? No matter what my profound grade is, I am still a student of the Heavenly Academy. Yin Duan laughed. Good, good, good. She will not become arrogant just because she is strong. Student Yiqing Luo's temperament is worthy for the Heavenly Academy's students to learn from. Yiqing Luo smiled slightly. Yin Duan gave Yin Xiang a look, signaling him to shut up. Following that, he walked over to Yiqing Luo. Student Yiqing Luo is now the pride of the Heavenly Academy, and also the hero in the hearts of all the students. If you can return to the academy, you will definitely be able to bring the students of various classes to work hard and cultivate. Elder Yin Duan need not flatter me. I'm just an ordinary student in devil class. Yiqing Luo shook her head modestly. Let's go to the academy now. Of course, she had to make a trip back to the academy. The dark forces had fallen. It was time for the Heavenly Dean to step down. Otherwise, how could he face the students who had died in the flame nest? Yiqing Luo, was a person who would definitely take revenge. The Heavenly Academy dared to scheme against her. Then he had to be mentally prepared to bear the consequences. The group of people headed towards the Heavenly Academy in a mighty manner. This scene quickly spread throughout Three Springs City. For example, Heavenly Academy's #1 Grand Elder personally welcoming Yiqing Luo back to the academy. For example, Yiqing Luo was the biggest signboard of the Heavenly Academy, so this year's best academy would still be the Heavenly Academy. For example, Yiqing Luo heard the cries of alarm and the commoners' discussions. They also knew that it was the Heavenly Academy's intention for them to be surrounded by the crowd as they walked on the road in a mighty manner. It was to make use of her current reputation to help the Heavenly Academy. Yiqing Luo sat on the soft carriage which was supported by a few of the Academy's servants. As she lazily leaned against the cushion, he couldn't be bothered to wave his hand and sell a smile to the people around him. Why did she have such an attitude? In the eyes of his die-hard fans, he was handsome and cool. Cloud rode a brown horse and followed the carriage at a steady pace. He glanced sideways as he smiled at Yiqing Luo. That's right, student Yiqing Luo. The principal asked me to bring you a message. What? Yiqing Luo raised her brows when she heard that. Cloud Duan stared at Yiqing Luo's expression without blinking. He said, he has agreed to your conditions. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up as she smiled without any surprise. Many thanks to Elder Cloud Duan for bringing the message. The General Hospital would agree to her request. Chapter 2166. I'm very curious. What is the condition that director mentioned? Yin Duan asked straightforwardly. Yiqing Luo liked this kind of straightforward person as she smiled sweetly. This is a secret between me and the academy. Yin Duan laughed loudly and didn't continue asking. Only occasionally, that profound gaze would sweep past Yiqing Luo, as though he wanted to know what Yiqing Luo was thinking about. Or perhaps he wanted to know what secret Yiqing Luo was hiding. Although Yin Duan was an old fox. But how could Yiqing Luo, this little fox, let Yin Duan see through her emotions so easily? The corners of her mouth were still curving upwards. Her eyes were calm without any ripples. But in her heart, she was replaying what she had said to the academy's director in her mind. The academy's director had agreed to her request. That meant that the current her and the World Mercenary Group had an inseparable relationship with the academy. They were on the same boat. The World Group had the academy's support. Their future development would definitely be impressive. When they reached the academy, they hadn't had the chance to hold a special welcoming ceremony. Suddenly they saw a lady dressed in a student's attire running over in a fluster. Oh no, oh no! Someone from the upper profound hall is here. Those students who were originally crowding at the academy's entrance, preparing to welcome Yiqing Luo, instantly quietened down when they heard this sentence. The students opened up a path. That female student rushed to the academy's entrance. Elder Yin Duan, the director has been looking for you. Yiqing Luo had just stepped down from the carriage as she raised her eyes to look at that female student. Xiao Yu? What happened? That female student was the current vice president of the faculty council, Lu Xiaoyu. On seeing Yiqing Luo, Lu Xiaoyu's pretty face revealed a joyous expression. She took a step forward and rushed in front of Yiqing Luo, hugging her fiercely. Qing Luo. Long time no see. Long time no see. Following that, without waiting for Yiqing Luo's response, she let go of Yiqing Luo and rushed towards Yin Duan's direction. Elder Yin Duan, quickly go to the field. Director alone can't withstand the pressure from the people from the upper profound hall. Yiqing Luo. Good gay friends hadn't seen each other for a long time, Shouldn't they give each other a warm hug? Just a hug was enough? Profound hall. Yinduan's face darkened. Why are there people from there? I don't know. It seems like they are looking for someone. Lu Xiaoyu replied in a panic. The elders have all gone over. The dean asked me to find you and let you go over to negotiate. Yinduan frowned and looked at Yiqing Luo. Student Yiqing Luo, I still have something to do. I'll leave first. Talk to you later. Yiqing Luo smiled faintly and nodded. Elder Yinduan, please go ahead. The news of Upper Profound Hall's arrival also dispersed the crowd of students to welcome Yiqing Luo's joyous mood. Everyone was guessing what the Upper Mystic Hall was. Why did the dean and the elders all have such grave expressions? This atmosphere inexplicably became somewhat heavy and oppressive. Yiqing Luo took the opportunity to pull Lu Xiaoyu as they walked past the students and slipped into the academy. The group of people slipped into the academy dormitory. There was no one else in the dormitory. Yiqing Luo dragged Lu Xiaoyu to sit beside the wooden chair. What is the Upper Profound Hall? Chapter 2167. Yiqing Luo shot a glance behind her. Qiao Jin thought for a moment, then said, Second floor of the library, the ghost doctor's medicine refining room, heavenly training forest, heavenly ancestral hall. He paused and looked at Yin Xiaoyi. There shouldn't be any other place? I don't think so. Yin Xiaoyi shook her head. The students of the devil class for so many years had been training by themselves in the courtyard of the devil class. As for the internal affairs of the Heavenly Academy, he did not understand much. The Heavenly Academy's biggest forbidden grounds seemed to be these four places. Yiqing Luo turned to look at Lu Xiaoyu. Lu Xiaoyu nodded solemnly. The Upper Profound Hall is the Upper Profound Ancestral Hall. The people who live there. That's right, they were humans. The people who lived in the Ancestral Hall. The Heavenly Academy's Ancestral Hall, although it was called an Ancestral Hall, was actually an independent courtyard. Apart from the annual ritual, even Principal Zhang was not allowed to approach the courtyard. The students did not pay much attention to this ancestral hall. Hence, it was not only the devil class students who did not know about it. Shangshuan Ancestral Hall. The other students of the Heavenly Academy did not know much about this ancestral hall. Live in the ancestral hall? The corner of Qiao Jin's mouth twitched. Could it be that the Heavenly Hall is the old ancestor of the Heavenly Academy? Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes. She actually had some impression of this ancestral hall. At that time, she had specially scanned the entire academy and mapped out the route of the academy in her mind. He also passed by this ancestral hall. Ancestral halls and whatnot were the golden treasures for acting cool. She thought about sneaking in. However, he was stopped by Old Man Tsang. The reason was that the ancestral hall of the Heavenly Academy was filled with the memorial tablets of the previous deans of the academy, which gathered the aura of the various deans. If he got too close, his spirit body would be harmed. Yiqing Luo then dispelled the idea of exploring the ancestral hall. Unexpectedly, behind this ancestral hall was the so-called Upper Xian Hall. Furthermore, the status of the Upper Mystical Hall in the academy was clearly very high. The dean could not hold on any longer. All the elders went to welcome him. At that time, Old Man Song had stopped her from entering the ancestral hall. It was probably because he had sensed the aura of the ancestral hall. Dmo Xian came to the Heavenly Academy a few times. It was unknown if he had noticed the Shangshuan Hall of the Shangshuan Ancestral Hall. Xiaoyu, this Upper Xian Palace has disappeared for such a long time. Why did they suddenly appear in the academy in broad daylight this time? Yin Xiaoyi looked at Lu Xiaoyu and asked curiously. Lu Xiaoyu shook her head. Not long ago, the people from the Profound Palace suddenly appeared on the field. When the president received the news, he rushed over and kowtowed to that person 3 times and 9 times. He asked me to immediately call the dean and the elders over to welcome him. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. Si and Mu had met the people from the Upper Profound Palace? From the looks of it, he must have seen it before, Lu Xiaoyu said. You said the Upper Profound Hall is looking for someone. Do you know who they are looking for? Yiqing Luo nodded thoughtfully. Lu Xiaoyu shook her head. I don't know. I didn't even get a good look at the people from the upper mystical hall before I was chased away by the president to call the principal and the elders. The people from the upper Xian palace suddenly appeared at this moment. It wasn't that Yiqing Luo was narcissistic. She had a feeling that the people from the upper Xian palace were probably aiming for. Her thoughts had yet to settle down. Outside the dormitory, there was a sudden knock on the door. Yin Xiang's voice was heard. Student Yiqing Luo, are you inside? Come out quickly. The envoy from the upper profound palace wants to see you. Whatever she said really came true. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched. She expressed that if she couldn't continue on in the future. Chapter 2168. A few pairs of eyes shot towards Yiqing Luo in unison. The person whom Upper Profound Palace was looking for was Yiqing Luo? How did the people from Upper Profound Palace know that Yiqing Luo was returning to the academy today? Why did he feel that it wasn't a good thing for the people from Upper Profound Palace to meet Yiqing Luo? Student Yiqing Luo, if you hear me, open the door immediately. The envoys of the High Xian Palace do not have the habit of waiting for people. Yin Xiang knocked on the door with a displeased expression. He could clearly sense the presence of people in the dormitory, but no one inside responded to him. Yin Xiang suppressed his anger and growled once again. Student Yiqing Luo, if you don't come out, then don't blame this elder for forcing my way in. There was still no response from inside the house. Yin Xiang was so angry that his face turned green, and he immediately rushed to the dormitory door. Creak! The door opened. Yin Xiang lost his footing and staggered into the dormitory. His body bumped into a wooden table at the side before he managed to stabilize himself. Outside the dormitory, the students snickered softly. Yin Xiang was angry and annoyed. He steadied himself and glared at the few people standing at the door. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a teasing arc. Her long and narrow eyes curved into a smile which didn't look like a smile. The glint in her eyes seemed to be ridiculing him. Whereas Lu Xiaoyu tilted her head as she stood by Yiqing Luo's side, blinking her eyes with an innocent look which almost made Yin Xiang mad. Xiao Jin, Yin Xiaoyi and Tong Ziqing crossed their arms in front of their chests, looking at him calmly. This group of students. He was clearly doing it on purpose to embarrass him. She was purposely making a fool out of him. Yiqing Luo, you. Yin Xiang angrily rebuked. Elder Yin Xiang, where is the envoy from Upper Profound Palace waiting for me? Yiqing Luo's light voice directly interrupted Yin Xiang. Yin Xiang's words faltered. He clenched his fists tightly under his sleeves. Fine. Let Yiqing Luo be complacent for a while. As long as one was targeted by the High Mystic Hall, their ending would not be pretty. Just from the way the Profound Hall's emissary mentioned Yiqing Luo's attitude was enough to tell. For the Upper Profound Hall's envoy to look for Yiqing Luo, it definitely wasn't a good thing. If they could borrow the Profound Palace's hands to get rid of Yiqing Luo, in this heavenly academy, no one would dare to defy their elders. Yiqing Luo could see the murderous intent and evil thoughts flowing in Yin Xiang's eyes clearly. She scoffed and curled her lips disapprovingly. Elder Yin Xiang, didn't you say that the messenger doesn't have the patience to wait for people? Aren't you going to lead the way? Yin Xiang glanced at her coldly. Student Yiqing Luo, your arrogant attitude can be used in front of this elder, but in front of the Upper Profound Hall's envoy, you'd better restrain yourself. Yiqing Luo gave a slight smile as she didn't mind. Don't think that this elder is scaring you. The last time the emissary from the Upper Xian Palace appeared in the academy was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, they took away a person from the academy. That person has never appeared in the academy since then. Yin Xiang purposely suppressed his voice to create a strange atmosphere. Unexpectedly, Yiqing Luo only raised her brows. Speaking of which, are there not many missing people in the Heavenly Academy? Yin Xiang's expression turned steely green. Yiqing Luo smiled and led the few of them out of the dormitory. Yin Xiang was behind him with a ferocious expression. He took a deep breath and calmed himself down, until the anger in his heart dissipated. He then walked out of the dormitory. Yiqing Luo and the others were already a distance away. Qing Luo, Elder Yun Xiang's words don't sound fake. Heavenly Profound Palace's envoy is looking for you. Surely it can't be that. They want to take you away, right? Chapter 2169. When Xiao Jin and the others heard this, the expressions on their faces instantly became grave as well. According to Lu Xiaoyu's speculation, the Upper Xian Hall should have an extremely high standing in this academy. Moreover, it was a symbolic existence. If what Yin Xiang said wasn't true, then he wouldn't be able to do anything. That could be considered as Yin Xiang slandering Upper Xian Palace. Yin Xiang probably didn't have the guts. Therefore, it was highly possible that the news of the envoy from the Upper Xian Palace taking away someone from the academy was true. Yan Xiaoyi quickly walked in front of Yi Qingluo. Qingluo, why don't we go over to take a look at what's going on? If there's no danger, then we'll call you over? Yi Qingluo had just returned to the academy and met with such a matter. The upper mystical hall was too mysterious. Although Yi Qingluo was very powerful now, but against those mysterious people who lived in the ancestral hall, it was too strange. Since the envoy from the Upper Xian Palace has specifically asked for me, what if he takes his anger out on you guys if I don't go? Yi Qingluo raised her hand and cupped Yan Xiaoyi's face. That messenger is on the field, and with so many students and elders watching, the messenger can't do anything to me. What's more, it might not be a bad thing for the emissary to summon me. Maybe he wants to reward me? Reward? Impossible. Everyone shook their heads simultaneously. Yi Qingluo's smile gradually deepened as her fingers couldn't help but pinch Yan Xiaoyi's face. No one knows what exactly is going on, so we'll know when we go over and take a look. Don't think so much. Yan Xiaoyi glared at her with her beautiful eyes and grabbed her hands away. I'm not a cat, not a shadow. Don't pinch my face. Yi Qingluo withdrew her hand and took a look at Tong Ziqing before her gaze finally fell onto Yan Xiaoyi. After staring for a while, Yi Qingluo decisively stretched out her devil's claw towards Yan Xiaoyi's face. You and Ziqing are standing together. Your face is more suitable to pinch. Her hand has yet to touch Yan Xiaoyi. He was intercepted by Qiao Jin halfway. Qiao Jin bore that unprepossessing face as he smiled at Yi Qingluo. Stop pinching my wife, come pinch me, come pinch me. Saying that, he even placed his face in front of Yi Qingluo. Yi Qingluo shot a disdainful glance at his ordinary face. Qiao Jin's skin was very delicate and looked very smooth. However, when his facial features were put together, he looked extremely ordinary. Yi Qingluo retracted her hand and rolled her eyes as she snorted. Are you trying to take revenge on me by showing off your dog food? I won't pinch you. If I pinch your face off, won't you chase after me for 10 streets? Qiao Jin's cheeky smile froze. There was a trace of shock in his deep eyes. Very quickly he regained his senses and leaned his head towards Yan Xiaoyi's shoulder, acting like a little wife. Wife Qingluo despises me. Bah. Yan Xiaoyi pushed his head. Who's your wife? Don't call me that. But Qiao Jin refused to let go of Yan Xiaoyi. A pair of enemies began to love and kill each other again. As for Yi Qingluo's earlier sentence of human face, these 3 words, he didn't seem to take it to heart. When Yin Xiang caught up to them, he saw such a leisurely and contented atmosphere. His beard was blown away by the anger that came out of his nostrils. But this time, he wisely chose to keep his mouth shut. If they were to bicker, he wasn't a match for this bunch of sluts. When he met the Upper Profound Palace's envoy, he would like to see how this bunch of sluts could still be so insolent. Along the way they were fooling around. The anxiousness from before had all dissipated cleanly. Chapter 2170. Xiaoyi? What's wrong with your tummy? Did you eat something earlier? Qiao Jin heard Yan Xiaoyi crying out in pain and immediately held onto her shoulders anxiously, looking at her tummy worriedly. Yan Xiaoyi leaned into Qiao Jin's arms as her forehead broke out in cold sweat from the pain. I don't know, slut Jin, carry me to the latrine. I can't take it anymore. His beloved little woman was in such pain. How could Qiao Jin see anyone else? He immediately carried Yan Xiaoyi horizontally and like the wind, He dashed towards the direction of the latrine. If it wasn't for the Academy's rule that they were not allowed to use profound energy, Xiao Jin couldn't wait to inject his profound energy into his legs and dash towards the latrine. Seeing Xiao Jin's figure disappear in a blink of an eye, Yin Xiang's expression was extremely ugly. Yiqing Luo's pink lips rose slightly as she looked at Yin Xiang. Elder Yin Xiang, please don't mind it. You also know that young people are like this when they are passionately in love. Her words paused and she seemed to have said something wrong as she covered her mouth and turned her head away. I've forgotten that Elder Yin Xiang has never tasted the feeling of passionately in love. So naturally you won't understand the feelings of these young people. Yin Xiang's expression turned even uglier. She had successfully caused trouble for Yin Xiang. Yiqing Luo happily held on to Tong Ziqing as she walked leisurely into the Academy's training field. Yiqing Luo was stuck in the middle of the training field at one glance as 5 solemn and respectful figures stood there. Standing right in front was an elderly dressed in a bronze-green brocade robe. The elderly's figure was extremely skinny with white sideburns and his face was as skinny as a match, giving off an extremely repulsive feeling. Especially those 2 eyes which were sunken deeply, which made Yiqing Luo inexplicably think of a skeleton in human skin. This elderly wasn't simple. The aura emitted from his body made one shudder. Behind the elderly stood a row of men dressed in dark green robes. Their figures were tall and sturdy, and should be that elderly's bodyguards. In a pile of greenish white, suddenly 5 different shades of deep green appeared. Yiqing Luo expressed vicious eyes. The director and a few elders stood by the side with a fawning smile on their faces. I've not expected that after so many years, Sir Envoy has once again descended upon Heavenly Academy, its Heavenly Academy's honor. The old man in the lead snorted coldly without any expression in his eyes. A guard behind him stepped forward, cupped his fists, and bowed respectfully to the dean. Dean, please don't stand on ceremony. Just bring our hall master's men over. The guard's actions were respectful, but his expression and tone were clearly threatening. Director felt a chill down his spine as the fawning smile on his face turned stiff. Yes, Elder Yin Xiang has already gone to call for her. Student Yiqing Luo will be here very soon. He paused and carefully looked at the elderly man's expression as he probed. Sir Envoy, I wonder what's the reason why Hall Master is looking for student Yiqing Luo? The old man narrowed his malicious eyes and glanced at the dean in disdain. His gaze was as if he was looking at an ant. Do you think that you can understand the thoughts of Lord Hall Master? Yes. I've overstepped my boundaries. The dean bowed his head and admitted defeat. The elders behind him were also sweating profusely as they looked around. Why hasn't Yin Xiang brought him over yet? The surrounding students were all standing by the side to spectate, pointing and discussing the current situation. They were all guessing what kind of place this heavenly hall was. And who was the hall master? Why were they looking for student Yiqing Luo? From this stance, apparently it wasn't anything good. Yet the director was trying to please these people. Chapter 2171. Sir Envoy, student Yiqing Luo is a student of our Heavenly Academy. As an elder of the Academy, we have the right to know why the Profound Palace is looking for student Yiqing Luo. Yin Duan, who was standing behind the dean, smiled faintly. His smile was gentle and warm. There wasn't any hint of contradiction. But the expression on the face of the Profound Palace's envoy turned gloomy. That pair of bright eyes swept coldly towards Yin Duan. The dean's face turned pale as he glared fiercely at Yin Duan, signaling him to shut up. But Yin Duan's expression didn't change as he smiled gently. Sir Envoy, do you think there's anything wrong with what I said? The envoy gritted his teeth gloomily. Elder Yin Duan is wholeheartedly thinking for the student. There's nothing wrong with what Elder Yin Duan said. These words were said through gritted teeth. The dean's face turned pale as he turned his head and stared at Yin Duan. Yin Duan didn't seem to feel the threat and warning from the envoy. He nodded slightly and continued with a smile. Sir Envoy also feels that what I said is right. Then can I ask the Sir Envoy to tell me why you want to see student Yiqing Luo? Elder Yin Duan. The respectful guard behind the envoy bellowed angrily. The envoy raised his hand and stopped the guard. Then he slowly raised his head with a sinister look. I don't know the specific reason why the Lord wants to see student Yiqing Luo. Yin Duan frowned slightly. Just as she was about to say something, the director had already cut in. No matter what the reason is, Hall Master wants to meet student Yiqing Luo. That is student Yiqing Luo's honor, and also our Heavenly Academy's honor. Student Yiqing Luo should be grateful. The dean's flattering words didn't ease the envoy's expression. The envoy snorted coldly. The Lord had not asked about the Heavenly Academy for a few years, and now a small elder can climb over your head. This has really broadened my knowledge. The dean lowered his head with an ugly expression. A sense of resentment towards Yin Duan arose from the bottom of his heart. The envoy was obviously dissatisfied with Yin Duan. These words were also telling him that if he wanted the profound palace to support the Heavenly Academy, this Yin Duan must not stay. The envoy glanced at the dean and snorted. You haven't brought the person? You're such a waste. You even need to invite a student 3 or 4 times. The dean felt extremely ashamed. The surrounding students began to gesticulate and discuss even louder. The principal's face turned red, and his hands were clenched so tightly that veins popped up on his fists. Yinduan's brows furrowed even more. He looked at the gloomy emissaries and guards in front of him, and then at the dean's embarrassed expression. His eyes were filled with dissatisfaction. The attitude of the Upper Xian Palace. Apparently looking for Yiqing Luo was definitely not a good thing. He had just left for 3 Springs sect to fetch Yiqing Luo back to the academy. Someone from the Upper Mystic Hall came. Was this really just a coincidence? If the Upper Profound Palace insisted on bringing Yiqing Luo away forcefully, even if he risked his position as the Grand Elder, he would definitely ensure Yiqing Luo's safety. After all, Yiqing Luo was now the living signboard of the Heavenly Academy. She was the person whom the General Hospital had repeatedly urged them to protect. He was the savior of the Western continent. He was the idol of the Nirvana realm. If something were to happen to Yiqing Luo in the Heavenly Academy, those various powerhouses which had been saved by Yiqing Luo would absolutely not take it lying down. Just as the atmosphere was strangely gloomy, suddenly there was an explosion of exclamation from the surrounding students. Chapter 2172. Yiqing Luo. When the students heard this, they immediately turned their heads in the direction of the voice. The dean and a few elders also turned around. Sure enough, he saw Yiqing Luo walking over from the other side of the training ground. Behind Yiqing Luo, there was only Tong Ziqing alone. The students looked at each other. Why didn't she bring along all the students from the devil class? The more people there are, the stronger the aura. She probably doesn't know that the High Xian Palace is here to cause trouble. Then what should we do? Should we help student Yiqing Luo to support her? Let's not do it. High Profound Palace is obviously not to be trifled with. If we help student Yiqing Luo, what if High Profound Palace takes their anger out on us? But student Yiqing Luo has helped us so much. She even saved the West Continent. Is it really all right for us to sit back and do nothing? If you want to interfere, you can do it yourselves. I'm not going to interfere. When the students saw Yiqing Luo, they started to discuss in low voices. When the emissary heard the words of the surrounding students, a sharp glint flashed across his eyes. He gave a cold smile as his gaze fixed onto Yiqing Luo. Long before they came, they had heard of Yiqing Luo's beauty, but he saw it with his own eyes. Especially in this place, which was filled with greenish-white uniforms, the academy students were extremely excited. The girl's flame-like red dress was extremely eye-catching. The young girl's movements were like flowing flames. There were very few people who could make red look so alluring. Sir Envoy, this is the Yiqing Luo whom you're looking for. I've brought her over. When Yun Xiang saw the envoy, he immediately went forward and smiled. As he pointed at Yiqing Luo, he couldn't help but laugh coldly in his heart. In this heavenly academy, Yiqing Luo, this wretched lass who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, if she offended the Upper Profound Palace's envoy, he wanted to see who else could save her. The envoy didn't even bother to take a look at Yun Xiang as his gaze was fixed on Yiqing Luo without blinking. The expression on his face was as cold as ice. Yun Xiang twitched his mouth awkwardly and retreated to Yun Yun's side. The atmosphere was so tense that it was a little strange. Until Yiqing Luo walked to the side of the director and stopped in her tracks. Director seemed to have found an opportunity to break the silence as he grabbed Yiqing Luo's wrist and pulled her towards the direction of the envoy. "Sir Envoy, this is Yiqing Luo." Yiqing Luo didn't struggle as she allowed the director to pull her in front of the envoy. She looked up and met the messenger's eyes at close range. Shortly after, her pink lips curled up and her eyes shimmered. "Are you the messenger from the Upper Xian Palace? I wonder why the emissary came out of the ancestral hall to look for me." The malice in the emissary's eyes deepened. He looked at the girl in front of him without blinking. He didn't find any trace of fear in the girl's eyes. Her tone was leisurely and her expression was calm. He couldn't be any more relaxed. The messenger was almost certain. This young girl did not fear them at all. Yiqing Luo said the two words ancestral hall. They were clearly aware of the usefulness of their heavenly hall to the heavenly academy. However, she was still fearless towards them. A hint of interest and coldness rose in the emissary's eyes. The dean kept staring at the messenger's expression. Seeing the emissary's arrogance lowering, he immediately shouted angrily, "Presumptuous! Yiqing Luo, do you know who this is? How dare you use this kind of attitude to speak to the Sir Envoy?" Now, she really regarded herself as the savior of the world, and did not put anyone in her eyes. The dean's words were so shameless that the surrounding students' respect and goodwill for the dean plummeted. Was this really something a dean of an academy should say? It was simply too shameless. It was too outrageous, wasn't it? To actually distort black and white like this. Some students wanted to retort. But when he saw the warning look in Yun Xiang's eyes, the students shut their mouths again, no matter how indignant they felt in their hearts. But they were after all students of the Heavenly Academy. They still wanted to mingle in the Heavenly Academy, and to graduate from the Heavenly Academy. Everyone was selfish. How could they possibly destroy their own future just because of a Yiqing Luo? Chapter 2174. Heavenly Way Historian? The envoy squinted his sinister eyes as a strange expression surfaced on his bony face. Seeing the envoy's reaction, the director thought that he had made up Yiqing Luo's words, giving the envoy an excuse to take action against her, so he started to speak even more energetically. Right, it's Heavenly Way Historian. She doesn't have anything else but her luck is good. The moment Heavenly Way Historian came, she brought away a bunch of powerhouses who wanted to invade the West Continent. I don't know why, but this credit mysteriously fell onto her head. The director's face was filled with anger. She's just a 15-year-old young lady, becoming the female hero who saved the West Continent. This kind of great glory. How would she know how high the sky is and how thick the earth is? The envoy nodded his head thoughtfully. So it's like this. The director stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo as he gritted his teeth. Sir Envoy, about this little slut's matter, I'll have to trouble you to inform Sir Hallmaster. If Sir Hallmaster wants to bring her away, feel free to do so. The envoy's sinister gaze swept past the director. The director's back instantly turned cold. His hands clenched tightly as he lowered his head apprehensively, not daring to say another word. The envoy shifted his line of sight towards Yiqing Luo. His shriveled lips twitched. Student Yiqing Luo doesn't have anything to explain or refute? Lazy. Yiqing Luo lifted her eyelids as she didn't think much of it. Moreover, Heavenly Profound Palace doesn't have the energy to bother about the Academy's trivial matters. Ha. A shriveled ear-piercing laughter was emitted from the envoy's mouth. His eyes were filled with admiration. Student Yiqing Luo, what you said this envoy really has no way to refute. In other words, he had admitted what Yiqing Luo had said. They were from Heavenly Profound Palace, and didn't have the leisure to bother about the Academy's trivial matters. The director was stunned by the envoy's laughter and the words he said at the back. What was going on? Why did the envoy's attitude suddenly change? He had thrown away his pride and said so much. Didn't the envoy hear it? Sir Envoy, you must not be cheated by her. The director spoke urgently. He hadn't even finished his words. He was interrupted by the emissary. Heavenly Dean, do you really take me for a fool to play tricks in front of me? Despite being the esteemed principal of the Hongyuan Master Teacher Academy, you still dare to act so rudely and insult a student in front of so many students. That's a breach of the ethics of a teacher. The dean's face instantly turned pale. His entire body felt cold, and his legs went limp. His lips trembled, and he wanted to explain. However, after meeting the cold gaze of the emissary, he could not utter a single word. The envoy didn't waste any more time with the director, but directly looked towards Yiqing Luo. Student Yiqing Luo, Hall Master would like to see you. Now follow me to the profound hall. The Palace Master of the High Mystic Palace. Why would he want to see a student from such a small class like me? If you can't give me a reasonable reason, how can my brother be at ease to let me go to the upper profound hall? Yiqing Luo smiled faintly. Student Yiqing Luo, this envoy is courteous to you because of your character, which suits my taste. But this doesn't mean that you can be rude to this envoy. The envoy's smile paused slightly, as his eyes shot out a threatening glint. Yiqing Luo met his eyes and smiled calmly. Envoy, the reason why I'm saying so much to you is because you're the envoy. But this doesn't mean that you can order me around. She sensed a different aura from the envoy. An aura which didn't belong to Nirvana realm. Chapter 2175. Unexpectedly, the Heavenly Academy had such a hidden force. What made Yiqing Luo puzzled was, since the Heavenly Academy already had the power of the Heavenly Palace, why did the dean choose to work with the dark forces and become their dog? Right now, it was impossible for Yiqing Luo to fall into the upper profound palace's trap so easily. An aura that did not belong to the Nirvana realm. She had to be careful, although the tranquil bead was already in her hands. However, unless there was no other choice, if he could keep a trump card, he would do his best to keep it. This trump card could possibly save his life. Student Yiqing Luo, since you're so uncooperative, then don't blame me for using other methods to invite you over. The envoy didn't fly into a rage as he shot a look behind him. Be gentler with your actions, don't hurt student Yiqing Luo. The four guards immediately stepped forward and walked towards Yiqing Luo. When they got close to Yiqing Luo, the group of students who had gathered around to watch the fun retreated one after another. He was afraid that this matter would implicate him. The guard cupped his fists respectfully. Student Yiqing Luo, please don't take offense. Saying that, his movements were as swift as lightning as he grabbed towards Yiqing Luo. Although the emissary had ordered the guards to take action, but anyone with a discerning eye could tell, the envoy didn't have any intention to harm Yiqing Luo. But looking at the emissary's firm and unyielding attitude, they were a little confused. Did Upper Profound Palace's people have ill intentions for Yiqing Luo, or was it purely to look for her? The strength of the four guards was not weak. They were all around the 8th grade of the Earth Profound Realm. The four of them struck at the same time, and instantly sealed off Yiqing Luo's escape route. And it didn't matter which angle Yiqing Luo hid to. Yiqing Luo would be caught. This point, Yiqing Luo naturally noticed it. She narrowed her eyes and gathered her dark force at her feet. Just as he was about to use his footwork to leave the encirclement of the guards, he suddenly stopped. In the next instant, a deafening roar came from afar. I'd like to see who dares to touch my girl. Accompanied by a loud roar, a thick palm wind directly slapped over. The momentum of the palm was like a rolling wave. In an instant, he blocked the attacks of the four guards. The guards were forced to take a few steps back. They looked up. Standing in front of Yiqing Luo was an extremely skinny and weak little figure. That man was an old man. His hair was messy, and he wore a white robe of an unknown rank. It was not fastened at the waist, and it hung loosely on his body. It was as if he had no other support other than his head. It looked like he was like a crazy old man. The principal, the elders, and the surrounding students stared at the old man, unable to conceal their astonishment. Teacher Guiyu. Wasn't this person Old Man Guiyu? When Yiqing Luo heard that voice, he already knew that Old Man Guiyu had rushed over. She looked at the figure standing in front of her, shielding her behind him. Yiqing Luo felt warm in her heart. Immediately after, a cold and impatient voice came from the crowd of students. What are the people from the Upper Xian Palace up to again? How dare you take my disciple away? The students spontaneously opened up a path. The ghost doctor walked over with an impatient look on her face. In his hands there were 2 medicine bottles. Chapter 2176. One was Guiyu, the other was Ghost Doctor. When the 2 of them appeared, the faces of the dean and the elders became extremely interesting. When the emissary's gaze swept across the 2 of them, a hint of surprise surfaced in his eyes. These 2 people. It gave him a very strange feeling in his heart. He could not put his finger on it. But he was extremely disgusted with these 2 people. However, he knew that he couldn't afford to offend him. Qing Luo, are you all right? Behind Ghost Doctor, 2 figures scuttled out as they speedily ran to Yiqing Luo's side, anxiously pulling Yiqing Luo to size her up from head to toe. Xiaoyi. Yiqing Luo looked at the pretty lady in front of her. Yan Xiaoyi's complexion was normal and her movements were agile. She didn't look like she had just now when she was sweating profusely from her stomach pain. Guiyu and the ghost doctor appeared. She couldn't help but laugh. This girl, you actually pretended to be sick to find Ghost Dr. Shifu and Teacher Guiyu. If I don't pretend to have a stomachache, how can I escape and call for help? Yan Xiaoyi's face was full of pride. Aren't you especially grateful for my wit? Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes at her. Yes, especially quick-witted. The appearance of the ghost doctor and Old Man Guiyu made the surrounding students exclaim in surprise. The students had seen Old Man Guiyu before, but every time he saw Guiyu, he would either sleep on his stomach or lying down, and he would sleep in all kinds of positions. As for the ghost doctor, that extremely mysterious medicine ancestor-level apothecary, this was an existence that was hard to come by in 1,000 years. It was said that the ghost doctor hated troublesome people the most. Other than refining medicine, the ghost doctor had no other hobbies. But today he had abandoned his pill refining and specially ran over to save the situation for Yiqing Luo. The students' gazes towards Yiqing Luo were filled with curiosity and shock. The envoy of the Upper Xian Hall did not expect this either. A student had actually alarmed Old Man Guiyu, who had never interfered with the academy's affairs, and the ghost doctor, who was so engrossed in refining medicine that he could not extricate himself from it. No wonder Hall Master wanted to meet Yiqing Luo. Go back and tell your palace master that this girl is under the protection of your father and the ghost doctor. You want to take her away? First, ask Laozi and the ghost doctor if they're willing. Old Man Guiyu let out a domineering roar with an arrogant attitude. The emissary and the 4 guards took a few steps back and looked at Old Man Guiyu with fear in their eyes. At the side, the dean was also shocked by the sudden turn of events. Seeing that the emissary really had the intention to retreat, the director panicked. Great messenger, please don't be angry. Guiyu and the ghost doctor have been spoiled by the academy. That's why they are so rude. Great messenger, please be magnanimous. Please don't be calculative with us. Then he glared at Old Man Guiyu. Both of you. All of you shut up. What kind of place is the Upper Profound Hall? And what kind of place is this? You are still a member of the Heavenly Academy, and you have to listen to me, the dean. The dean's low reprimand made Old Man Guiyu laugh. The corners of Old Man Guiyu's mouth twitched. A trace of ridicule and self-deprecation appeared on his usually crazed face. Headmaster, you're so impressive. Then what if I don't become the so-called headmaster now? As soon as he finished speaking, he raised his hand and tore off the medal on his shoulder that symbolized his status as a headmaster. The dean's face instantly turned pale. Old Man Guiyu laughed. Sir Headmaster, for so many years, I've really wronged you to put up with this crazy old man. Today this thing, I shall return it to you in one piece. Chapter 2177. The strength of the metal was not strong. But the dean's body instinctively took a few steps back. He was dumbfounded and looked at Guiyu in disbelief. You. Guiyu continued to laugh. I'm just satisfying your selfish desires for so many years. Don't you want me to get out of the Heavenly Academy? I'm fulfilling your wish. The dean looked at the metal that landed at his feet. The expression on his face gradually became gloomy. Old Man Guiyu's action stunned the onlooking students. Old Man Guiyu in the academy, although he was the most unprofessional teacher, and no student dared to provoke him in the entire academy. But Guiyu was a special existence to the students. Among so many solemn teachers, Yi Zichen could not help but laugh. There was a crazy and bad-tempered teacher, and this crazy teacher would never treat them according to the academy's rules, although they were afraid of him. However, it allowed them to feel a little more relaxed in their intense study. Guiyu actually wanted to leave the Heavenly Academy? The students had yet to react. The next moment, Ghost Doctor looked at the dean indifferently and said in a calm voice, "It seems that the dean also wants to kick me out of the Heavenly Academy. Then, I, Ghost Doctor, will withdraw from the Heavenly Academy from today onwards, and will be stripped of my exclusive pharmacist position." He handed the 2 medicine bottles in his hand to the elder beside him. The elder's hand trembled and did not dare to receive it. Ghost Doctor squinted and said in a low voice, "Ha!" The elder looked at the dean in shock. At this moment, the dean was about to explode. It was fine that Guiyu disgraced him in public for a student. After all, that was Guiyu's character. But Ghost Doctor was the exclusive pharmacist whom he had painstakingly invited 3 times. He was the biggest signboard of the Heavenly Academy. He was the symbol of the Heavenly Academy. For so many years, they had cooperated peacefully with each other because Ghost Doctor hated trouble. But now, Ghost Doctor was like Guiyu, withdrawing from the Heavenly Academy for a student? His face was livid. He clenched his fists and said in a tight voice, "Ghost Doctor, for so many years the Academy has provided you with herbs, medicinal ingredients, and various advanced equipment for refining medicine. The position of personal apothecary is not something you can get rid of just because you want to." The Ghost Doctor's white brows raised slightly, and the corners of her lips twitched coldly. "Since the dean wants to calculate with me the pill refining equipment that you've provided me for all these years, then I'll also calculate with the dean how many of the pills that I, the Ghost Doctor, have refined over all these years, entered your dean's pocket." The dean's face immediately turned pale. What nonsense are you spouting? Let's not talk about the pills that went into your pocket. Let's talk about the pills that I threw into the Academy's medicinal storehouse. I'm sure the Academy remembers every single item clearly. We can calculate whether the pills I refined are more valuable, or the medicinal ingredients you provided are more valuable. The Ghost Doctor continued. The dean's face turned completely pale. To be more precise, it was grayish-white. His face was ashen, and he couldn't even spit out a retort. Ghost Doctor sneered. "It's the Heavenly Academy's misfortune to have a dean like you." The dean exploded. "Good. Great. You're using this method to humiliate me and force me, aren't you? Good. You're not from the Heavenly Academy now. Men, chase all these outsiders who are causing trouble in the Academy out." The Academy guards looked at each other, at Ghost Doctor and Guiyu, and then at the dean. Chapter 2178. The director was so infuriated that his fingers were trembling. He raised his hand and pointed at the group of guards as he bellowed furiously. "You bunch of trash. Now I can't even order you around anymore, right? Good. He stared fiercely at those elders and those masters who heard the commotion. "Who wants to leave this academy today? Say it out loud and scram. Scram out of the Heavenly Academy." The crowd who were implicated. Was this really the usual dignified and benevolent, although dignified but amiable director? Why was he so harsh today, constantly targeting a student? and even inverted right and wrong, framing Yiqing Luo. Was this really something that the director of the academy could do? Now he even forced Guiyu and Ghost Doctor away. Even the other students and masters were implicated for no reason. The negative impression of the director in the students' hearts was getting deeper and deeper. The director was in a fit of rage, so why would he bother to consider what the students were thinking? No one wants to leave, right? Since no one wants to leave, then all of you chase these people who are not from the Heavenly Academy out. The director waved his arms hysterically. That look made the students extremely disgusted. Guiyu's fiery temper couldn't be controlled as he dashed in front of the director and grabbed his collar. Heavenly Director, even if I don't want to be a master, but if I want to stay in the academy, I will stay in the academy. The person who has the least right to chase me away is you. The director's collar was tightened and his face flushed red. He grabbed Guiyu's hand, which had green veins popping out, trying to struggle. But how could his strength match up to Guiyu? Guiyu, how dare you touch me? A bunch of trash, hurry and stop him. The director's neck was tightly bound as he struggled to say every word. The guards looked at each other. Previously they were the ones who asked them to chase Guiyu and Ghost Doctor out. They naturally didn't dare to. But now their director was being strangled in front of their eyes. No matter what, they had to stop it. The guards cupped their fists towards Guiyu and said in a low voice, Master Guiyu, sorry to offend you. Saying that, a group of people rushed forward to save the director. They didn't dare to touch Guiyu. Naturally, he was no match for Old Man Guiyu's hot temper. Old Man Guiyu did not intend to let the dean go so easily. He grabbed the dean's neck with his 5 fingers and threw him towards the direction of the guards. The headmaster felt as though his throat was about to be broken when he was suddenly flung around by the neck. The guards scrambled to catch the dean. The dean leaned on them and coughed. He was in an extremely sorry state. The Ghost Doctor's gaze was calm, and she swept an unwavering glance at the director. There's no need for you to chase us away, we'll naturally leave. Only, if you want to harm my disciple today, don't blame me for disregarding our many years of cooperation. 2 old men dressed in white robes stood in front of Yiqing Luo in a domineering and mighty manner. Their eyes were filled with disdain and mockery as they looked at the principal. The director hadn't even caught his breath when he heard the Ghost Doctor's warning. He was so angry that he had nowhere to vent his anger. Trash. A bunch of trash. All of you are siding with the 2 traitors of the Heavenly Academy, aren't you? Good. All of you scram for this dean. All of you get lost. The director was coughing as he roared and pushed the guards behind him. He waved his sleeve and pointed towards the students and masters who were crowding around. Chapter 2179. The students looked at the hysterical and malevolent-looking director, and hearing what he said, the anger in their hearts was ignited. These students were all 15 to 16 years old, and the oldest was 23 to 24 years old. They weren't considered as mature mentally. During this period of time, the crisis in the West Continent had erupted. They had been forced to stay in the Heavenly Academy by the director. On the surface, the director was doing it for their safety, but in actual fact they were hostages. They couldn't leave the academy. They couldn't contact their own families. They had no idea what the outcome of the battle outside was. It was rumored that some students were worried about their families. They forced their way out of the academy. They secretly tried to escape from the academy. Those were all caught by the director. After that, they couldn't hear any news from those people anymore. The director said that those students wanted to leave, and he sent them back to their families. But what was the truth? The students didn't want to guess and didn't dare to guess. However, these things had already planted a seed in the hearts of the students. Today they were dragged into the water by the director again and again for no rhyme or reason, being scolded and reprimanded. These hot-blooded youngsters' pent-up anger had reached its peak and immediately exploded uncontrollably. Go. Let's go. Heavenly Academy. Do you really think that the current Heavenly Academy is still the old Heavenly Academy? If it wasn't for student Yiqing Luo in our academy, the Heavenly Academy would have been demolished long ago. To let someone like you become the director of the Heavenly Academy is to bring shame to the Heavenly Academy. What best academy, first academy, with an ungrateful director like you who thinks of ways to harm your own students? We can't afford to wait on you. The students' rage could no longer be held back. One by one, they tore off their uniforms and threw it on the ground as they were about to leave. The director was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood as his finger trembled as he pointed at the bunch of students who were frantically flinging off their uniforms. He almost fainted from anger. Amidst the chaotic atmosphere, the students were fighting to be the first to leave. A clear voice rang leisurely. Leave? Why do you want to leave? A young lady's unique, sweet and crisp voice was extremely recognizable. Upon hearing it, they knew that it was Yi-Ching Luo's voice. The students' footsteps halted as they turned back towards the direction of the voice. He saw Yi-Ching Luo's arms crossed as she walked step by step towards the direction of the director. Her steps were slow and graceful. Her red dress fluttered in the wind as she walked, like a blooming rose. A majestic and powerful aura spread out invisibly. In an instant, the entire training square was shaken. The Heavenly Academy is our academy. If anyone were to leave, it should be this. If the president who betrayed the Heavenly Academy leaves, why should we, the innocent students and teachers, leave? The girl chuckled, her posture languid and elegant. She raised her eyes and glanced at the students. Come back. The students were still seething with anger, their blood boiling, and it was a mess. But after the girl spoke, they all quietened down at the same time. No one refuted Yi-Ching Luo's words. They stopped in their tracks. What Yi-Ching Luo said was right. They were students of the Heavenly Academy. Why should they leave? Clearly, the one in the wrong was the principal. If they left, wouldn't that be giving the dean an advantage? Yi-Ching Luo, how dare you incite the students? Do you know soul manipulation? Are you controlling these students? Are you trying to destroy the Heavenly Academy? Chapter 2180. Yi-Ching Luo raised her brows as she walked elegantly to the front of the director. Her charming eyes swept across the guards who were supporting the director. The guards felt as though their bodies were entangled by a cold, poisonous snake. The guards instinctively let go of the director's support as they uniformly retreated a few steps back. The director was originally pinched by Old Man Guiyu and his entire body was still limp. After that, he was so infuriated by Yi-Ching Luo that he vomited blood. Without the support of the guards, the director fell onto the ground in a sorry state. He was in so much pain that he was gritting his teeth as his expression was sinister, totally without the usual dignified look. Are you all bewitched by this slut? The director supported his waist as he tried to stand up. But at the next moment, a small foot suddenly stepped on his back. The director gave a muffled groan as his body fell heavily onto the ground uncontrollably. That sinister face was forcefully stepped onto the ground as he ate a mouthful of dust. Not waiting for the director to fly into a rage, his body was suddenly lifted into the air, and with a flip, he fell heavily onto the ground with all 4 feet facing the sky. The director cried out miserably. Yi-Ching Luo slowly walked closer as she looked down at him condescendingly. If you want to win the hearts of the people, then you have to first see if you treat them sincerely. A selfish director like you also wants to gain the support of the students? The director's face turned ashen from the humiliation. But there was really no one around to stop him. They just watched him being humiliated by a student. The director was fuming with anger as his eyes shot out in intense hatred. He slammed the ground as his body flipped over. Yi-Ching Luo, you're looking for death. He roared as he suddenly struck a palm towards the direction of the attack. That palm was filled with dense, profound energy. It was filled with murderous intent. Yi-Ching Luo sneered as she was about to retaliate. Suddenly, an even more powerful, profound energy blocked in front of her as it directly suppressed the director's palm wind. The director suffered a backlash as his body flew backwards and rolled onto the ground. He clutched his chest as he raised his head. He saw the heavenly profound palace's envoy slowly retracting the palm which he had waved earlier. His face, which was as thin as a match, was filled with a sinister and terrifying indifference. Dean Xian, this emissary is not here to see you being unreasonable here. The emissary's voice was very cold, and his tone revealed his disdain towards the dean. He paused for a moment as his vision shot towards Yiqing Luo. Student Yiqing Luo had said something very right. A selfish person like you is indeed not fit to be the director. The dean's face turned ashen and pale. The envoy didn't bother about the director as he spoke to Yiqing Luo. Student Yiqing Luo, the reason why the hall master wants to meet you isn't because he has any ill intentions towards you, but to ask you a few questions. Even hall master doesn't know about this. How would I know? Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. Student Yiqing Luo, you must know. The messenger insisted. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she looked towards Ghost Doctor and Old Man Guiyu. Both of them looked at the emissary with vigilance. Seeing Yiqing Luo looking at them, Old Man Guiyu immediately went forward and pulled Yiqing Luo behind him. Go back and tell that whatever hall master, the person I'm protecting, is not someone he can meet whenever he wants. If there's any problem, come out and look for Last Luo yourself. His words paused as he added another sentence. And it must be under the condition that I'm present. This protective look made Yiqing Luo's heart warm up. Chapter 2181. Last Luo. You don't know what kind of place the upper profound hall is. That is not a place for you to fool around. Old Man Guiyu understood the meaning behind Yiqing Luo's words as he immediately suppressed his voice to persuade her. Yiqing Luo smiled. No matter, I'll be fine. Since when have you seen me doing something that I'm not confident of? She cherished her life very much. She wouldn't feel that she was in the sky profound stage, and she could be that awesome. From the messenger's aura, Yiqing Luo indeed didn't feel any murderous intent. Moreover, when those 4 upper profound hall's guards came to capture her, she had noticed the messenger's expression. When the guards were attacking her, the emissary's eyes had always been fixed on her. The expression on his face was indeed worried if she was injured. The messenger was serious when he instructed the guards not to hurt her. So she could conclude that hall master wasn't here to find trouble. Since that hall master wanted to ask her questions, she would go and meet that hall master to see what kind of place the upper profound hall was. Old Man Guiyu and Ghost Doctor exchanged glances and immediately relaxed their arrogance. All right, go. If you're not back in 1 hour, we will inform the Imperial Palace and barge into the upper profound hall. Wasn't it a little too exaggerated? Yiqing Luo looked at the both of them as she warned the messenger. The messenger was originally high and mighty, but was forced to bow down to the 2 old men. Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards uncontrollably. Warmth spread in her heart. It was her fortune to have these 2 elders who cared about her and thought for her. She would never let Old Man Guiyu and Ghost Doctor leave the Heavenly Academy. After the discussion, the 2 of them finally let Yiqing Luo leave with the messenger. Yiqing Luo looked at the disheveled and injured director as her long and narrow eyes rose slightly. Before she opened her mouth, the messenger beside her had already said, Dean's action today is against the teacher's ethics. I represent the upper profound hall to inform Dean to stop whatever you are doing and go to the ancestral hall to reflect for 3 days. Director suddenly raised his head. Miss Messenger, this can't be. There are many things in the academy, and if I'm not around the academy, there are many things to do in the academy. There are naturally these 2 seniors and many elders to help. The emissary left no room for discussion. 3 days from now, if the temple master thinks you can leave the ancestral hall, then we'll talk about it. The dean's face was ashen. He had even brought out the hall master. If he didn't obey, the palace master had every right to kill him. 3 days in less than 3 days. He had been the dean for so many years. Even if he had to face the wall for 3 days, the academy would not be able to overturn the heavens. The emissary shot a glance behind him. The 2 guards from the upper mystic hall understood, and stood on the left and right side of the dean. Dean, please. At the entrance of the Shangshuan ancestral hall, Old Man Guiyu and Ghost Doctor saw them off. When they reached the door, they stopped. If one entered the ancestral hall without permission, he would be punished by the ancestors of the Heavenly Academy. In fact, it was the backlash of the upper profound hall's spirit formation. Following the envoy, Zhang Xian entered the ancestral hall. The headmaster was assigned to the furthest corner of the ancestral hall. He knelt in front of the memorial tablets and copied the Book of Teachers' Virtues. When he saw Yiqing Luo following the envoy into the inner hall, his eyes were filled with hatred. Yiqing Luo totally disregarded him. 3 days imprisoned for 3 days. Did he think that 3 days later, there would still be a place that belonged to him? Would she give him this chance? Chapter 2182. The messenger had been paying attention to Yiqing Luo's expression right from the start. He was very interested in this girl who seemed to have everything under control, as if everything was under her control. He wanted to know what this young lady was thinking about. Her calmness. Was it because she was in control of everything? Or was it because she was simple-minded and didn't think about anything so she wasn't afraid? Of course, from Yiqing Luo's temperament, the messenger chose to believe the former. But, so far, he hadn't seen any special shining spot on Yiqing Luo. Until now, he saw a different expression on Yiqing Luo's face. What kind of smile was that? Crafty like a fox and extremely charming. He clearly knew that she must be plotting something in her heart. But he was unable to develop any sense of disgust. On the contrary, he felt that this young lady's craftiness was extremely terrifying. This was an extremely terrifying charisma. Messenger keeps staring at me. Is there something on my face? The young lady's smiling voice was heard by the side of his ear. The messenger suddenly regained his senses. In front of him was a radiant smiling face. Her face was devastatingly beautiful and peerless. The messenger's brows twitched as he hurriedly retracted his gaze. I've long heard that student Yiqing Luo is devastatingly beautiful, so it's indeed so. Yiqing Luo smiled. Even the messenger likes this look of mine, so I'm sure the hall lord will like it too. The messenger was stunned as he concealed the expression between his brows. He didn't say another word as he re-evaluated Yiqing Luo. This young lady was indeed not an ordinary person. No wonder she was able to attract the attention of the hall lord, to personally summon her. The messenger maintained his silence. Yiqing Luo didn't intentionally pursue further. She looked as though she was obediently following beside the messenger, but in actual fact, she had already drawn the route which she had taken into her mind as a map. After stepping into the inner hall, it was another long and dark corridor. Yiqing Luo had not expected that the ancestral hall, which seemed to be the smallest courtyard in Heavenly Academy, was actually so spacious. It was divided into several inner courtyards. After turning the long corridor, Yiqing Luo followed the messenger into a house at the end. Inside the house, it was dark and gloomy, and there wasn't anything placed. It was extremely spacious. Yiqing Luo surveyed the surroundings and looked at the messenger in puzzlement. Not waiting for her to ask, the messenger had already walked to the front as his fingertip slashed across his wrist. A drop of blood dripped down. He quickly formed a hand seal. Following that, he turned his head towards Yiqing Luo. Student Yiqing Luo, please hold on tight to me. When Yiqing Luo heard that, she immediately understood. This place is the reverse barrier, right? As she asked, she grabbed the sleeve of the messenger's robe. He followed the envoy into the room. Yiqing Luo could clearly feel her body brushing against something cold. This feeling was exactly the same as when he had passed through the reverse spirit formation last time. You know about the reverse enchantment? After passing through the enchantment, the envoy looked at Yiqing Luo in astonishment. There shouldn't be anyone in the Nirvana realm who knows about traditional barriers and reverse barriers. Yiqing Luo nodded her head. Last time, when she pretended to be controlled and followed Pharaoh He to the base camp of the dark forces, she had experienced the reverse ward. Old Man Sung had taught her before. The reverse spirit formation was actually a spirit formation similar to an illusion technique. Without the secret technique of combining with the reverse barrier, this room was just an ordinary black room. He used a secret technique to enter the room. It was the true hidden place after arriving at this room. Chapter 2183. Upper Profound Hall. Yiqing Luo sized up the surrounding environment. This upper profound hall was different from what she had imagined. Hidden in the ancestral hall was a powerhouse. Yiqing Luo thought that this was a powerhouse who hid in the dark and didn't dare to be seen. The upper profound hall would also be pitch black, eerie, and extremely terrifying. But this magnificent scene in front of her was brightly lit and extremely flourishing. Yiqing Luo totally couldn't imagine it. This was a scene which could be seen in an ancestral hall, which was specially used to display memorial tablets. Student Yiqing Luo, this way please. The messenger saw Yiqing Luo looking left and right with her eyes filled with astonishment as his lips twitched. No matter how intelligent this young lady was. After all, she was only a 15-year-old child. Seeing such a splendid and magnificent hall, it was inevitable that she would reveal this kind of expression. Yiqing Luo's attention was on the surrounding scenery, and didn't notice the messenger's thoughts. Of course, even if she noticed, she was too lazy to explain. If the upper profound hall's people treated her as an ordinary 15-year-old young lady to bluff, this was also quite good. She could even pretend to be a pig to eat the tiger. She followed the messenger all the way. Along the way, this hall was all splendid and magnificent with a grand style. Yiqing Luo inexplicably thought of God Thief. If God Thief was around, he would definitely think of ways and means to move all the things here away. Thinking of God Thief's eyes shining, Yiqing Luo couldn't help but laughed out loud. What are you laughing at? The messenger saw Yiqing Luo laughing out of nowhere as he looked at her and asked. Yiqing Luo raised her head and met the messenger's gaze. Her eyeballs rolled as she changed the topic. Messenger, I'm thinking. Is it possible that every academy's ancestral hall is hiding a powerhouse like yours? What kind of powerhouse is Upper Profound Hall? The messenger looked at her in amusement. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she replied seriously. I feel that this should be like a controlling, restricting existence. The messenger became interested. Oh, why do you say so? Yiqing Luo's slender brows arched. This is like Nirvana realm has 4 continents, and each continent not only has its own dynasty, it also has its own sect. It's like all the existences are mutually balancing and restraining each other. Pausing for a moment, Yiqing Luo continued. Let's take the simplest example. In our 4 major sects, each sect has a sect elder. This sect elder is equivalent to the Heavenly Academy's Heavenly Hall, and is the existence that restrains and checks the Heavenly Academy. Ha ha ha. Student Yiqing Luo is indeed extraordinary. The envoy couldn't help but laughed out loud. This was the first time he had heard of such a saying. But it was undeniable that Yiqing Luo's guess was correct. Every academy did indeed have its own halls. The existence of the hall masters. It was the same as being an elder of a sect. It was all for the sake of restraining the dean and the elders. This was to prevent people with ulterior motives from using the academy to harm the balance of the Nirvana realm. The emissary did not deny it. Yiqing Luo knew that what she said was right. She chuckled softly. Her eyes no longer had the amazement when she first saw the magnificent palace. On the contrary, they were extremely calm and indifferent. Nirvana realm is merely the lowest grade realm, but it has troubled so many people from the upper realm to guard this place for decades, or even centuries. She met the messenger's eyes and suddenly laughed. You people from the upper realm really put in a lot of effort for Nirvana realm. The expression on the messenger's face changed slightly. Chapter 2184. Yiqing Luo didn't continue the topic. She took the lead and walked towards the front. The envoy's expression congealed slightly as he stared at Yiqing Luo's leisurely back view for some time before he took a step forward and followed up. This time round, the envoy's gaze towards Yiqing Luo was filled with probing intent. There were several times when he wanted to ask Yiqing Luo how much she knew about the upper realm and Nirvana realm. But before he opened his mouth, Yiqing Luo would always point to something by the side and ask him. Not long later, they had walked for about 2 joss sticks worth of time on the journey. The envoy stopped outside the inner hall as he stretched out his hand to stop Yiqing Luo. He saw the envoy rushing into the inner hall as he bowed slightly. Hall Master, student Yiqing Luo is here. A deep and melodious voice rang in the hall. Come in. That voice didn't sound old. It was a man's voice. The envoy took a step back as he stretched out his hand towards Yiqing Luo and spoke in a low voice. Student Yiqing Luo, please. Looking at the tightly shut inner hall door, Yiqing Luo pointed to herself. Am I going in alone? This is the hall master's bedroom, and he doesn't allow anyone to go near his bedroom, so this envoy can only send you here. Bedroom, bedroom, bedroom. Was he sure he wasn't teasing her? What did this hall master mean? Meeting a 15-year-old young lady in his own bedroom? Didn't he say that no one was allowed to go near his bedroom? Then why did he still let her in? Seeing Yiqing Luo still in a daze, the envoy urged her in a low voice. Student Yiqing Luo, hall master is waiting for you inside. Why aren't you going in? Yiqing Luo took a look at the bedroom door and looked at the envoy. That? You don't have any guest hall, a hall in the meeting hall? The envoy heard Yiqing Luo's implied meaning. His bright little eyes squinted into a slit as his shriveled lips cracked into a smile. Student Yiqing Luo, please be assured, no matter how useless hall master is, he would not be so desperate as to lay his hands on a young lady. Moreover, he slowly bent down and leaned towards Yiqing Luo as he lowered his voice. Our hall master hates women. Yiqing Luo expressed that she had never met their hall master before, so who knew if his words were true or false? The emissary didn't want to waste any more time with her. He bowed deeply in the direction of the sleeping chamber before retreating. Hey, why did you leave just like that? If you leave so decisively, I will be even more suspicious that your hall master is coveting my beauty, and you are working together to trick me. Yiqing Luo immediately shouted behind him, but after leaving the emissary, she didn't know how to use the reverse barrier fusion secret technique. Before he could catch up, the envoy's figure had already disappeared in front of Yiqing Luo's eyes. Yiqing Luo didn't even manage to grab the corner of his robe. Lady Yi, you don't have to worry. You're still too young for me. I don't have the hobby of laying my hands on little girls. The deep voice of the hall master could be heard once again. As for the matter of coveting your beauty, it's not up to me. Yiqing Luo. Not his turn? Did they have to take turns to peek at her beauty? She expressed that she didn't understand the hall master's words. If Miss Yi doesn't wish to come in, then let's talk through the door. The hall master seemed as though he was compromising, but his words were filled with ridicule. Yiqing Luo clenched her fists. Let her stand at the door to accompany him to talk. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.